Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel, and welcome to our continuing rebuttals of Convicting a Murderer. Today, Dr. Silkman is presenting Episode 3, Rebuttal.
Thank you so much there, Jack61, and thank you so much for that introduction, and a warm welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Dr. Silkman, and I'm from the Foul Play team, and I'm from Adelaide, South Australia. It's a beautiful day outside, and as Jack61 stated, today we're going to be continuing our rebuttal of Convicting a Murderer, and today we're going to start off with Episode 3. Now, as you guys know, if you've watched Convicting a Murderer, episode 3 and 4 are very, very tough viewing and very, very tough going. But we're going to give our rebuttal. But I just want to give a general warning, guys, who are in chat and also on the panel today. We're going to be confronting a lot of potential trigger warnings, and Jack61 will later on put on the slides the subject material for today and also for tomorrow's podcast is not easy going, right? It's very confronting, very disturbing, and it was very, very tough going through the episodes. But we're going to be doing our due diligence, guys. We're going to be giving our personal opinions. Now, remember, they're our personal opinions on what we felt of the episodes. Your opinions may differ, and that's fine. That's fine. We're not shying away. The material is very confronting, but we're here to give our rebuttal. But before we do that, guys, it's fantastic to see a lot of people already in chat. Thank you so much. We do really appreciate your support, and a big warm welcome to all our supporters and our mods. The only thing that we ask, guys, is please be civil. Like I said, today's material that we'll be talking about is very tough going, and it is very, very challenging. I'm sure all of you, and I'm sure everyone here on the panel, knows of someone who's suffered some form of abuse, verbal, physical, sexual, or there are many, many different types of abuse, and it's terrible, right? You can't defend that type of behavior. It's shocking. But then, guys, we have to go through the episode. So what we've done, we've come up with a series of clips, short clips, which we'll be presenting and we'll be discussing them. Now, if you guys do have a question in chat, please put a Q and we'll try and answer the question as best that we can. If we can't answer the question immediately, we'll try and answer the question towards the end of the podcast. Thank you so much, guys. Well, look, I'd like to introduce our fantastic panel today. Thank you so much for rolling up, guys. I'd like to introduce Jack61. Welcome, sir. How are you coming along?
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Doing okay. And it's not beautiful here in Southwest Michigan, United States. It's cold, rainy, not snow, not the other four-letter word, but typical fall weather for this time of year in Michigan. Otherwise, just been busy. It's going to be an interesting, for the open mic tomorrow, if you and I survive it, Susan may hire a hitman. I've already talked to her about it before you came on earlier, Doc. So
Yeah.
we may, but if we don't get through all the clips, we'll get one of that tomorrow. Anyway, about what you said about, folks being civil, I would also ask people to stay as much on topic as they can. There's 10 clips that we have to present tonight that Doc created. And, we don't, none of us really minds talking about other things, but, for us to get it through the rebuttal, we can't really venture too far off the beaten of what we're trying to present. So try to keep your questions, if you can, on topic. If you can't, if you got something weird you want to ask, put it in there. We'll flag it. And if we have time at the end, we'll answer it. That's all I got. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jack61. And next we have Katie. Katie, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much. I'd like to say I'm looking forward to this, but I'm not really. Let's get on with it.
Totally understand. Thank you so much, Katie.
You
And
bet.
next we have Susan. Welcome, Susan.
Hi, Doc. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm with you, Kay, on that one. So, yeah, let's go.
We will. We will. Next we have I Don't Recall. Welcome.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Convicting a Murder Rebuttal.
Thank you so much, Cherie. And next we have Alice. Alice, welcome.
Hi, Doc. Hi, everyone on panel. It was great to see all the usual suspects in chat. Not looking forward to what we've got this tonight, to be honest. I see people asking, Angie, he's doing absolutely fabulous, my little Aussie. He's getting big. He'll be 2 months old tomorrow, which is also my son's birthday. So, which is a good thing. So, yeah, doing not too bad. Thanks, Doc.
Awesome. Awesome. Fantastic. Jack 61, are we able to have the very first slide, please? There's just a couple of comments that I'd like to make. I'll just wait for that to come up. Awesome. Yep, we'll just wait.
Well, the hell's the photo at?
Oh, no.
Well, it should be there. I don't know what. There it goes. Okay, there it goes.
You got it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, look, guys, thank you so much. As I said, welcome to the rebuttal. Today, we're going to be looking at episode 3. Hopefully, we'll get through all the slides and the clips. And tomorrow, we'll be continuing with the open mic, looking at episode number 4. If you like what we do, guys, please subscribe, like, and share our podcasts. And again, guys, thank you so much for your support here at the Foul Play team. We do search for the truth, good, bad, or otherwise. We're here, we're fronting up. We're going to be discussing some very difficult topics, but we're not shying away from that at all. Again, guys, just as a disclaimer, we're using these clips really for educational purposes as a form of rebuttal. The clips that we'll be playing are actually quite short. I think the longest one, Jack 61, goes for about 3 minutes, but most of the other ones run for about a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll be discussing them as well. If we can have the next slide, please, Jack 61. Again, guys, as we've highlighted, the material that we'll be covering today is actually quite distressing. And I just want to warn everyone about potential trigger warnings. If you feel that you have to leave the podcast, we understand. It's not very, very easy at all. These are very, very tough topics. And like I said before, most of us have either been personally the subject of abuse or know someone who has been the subject of abuse. And it is terrible. Okay, there's no sweet way to put it. It's horrible and terrible. Jack 61, can we have the next slide, please? Now, what I wanted to do is to give basically a quick précis of what this episode is going to be all about, so that you know whether it is suitable for you and what are the main themes of this podcast, right? Of this particular episode. Episode 3 is entitled Avery's Niece. Now, I just want to spend a couple of minutes of your time. This all centers around Stephen Avery, this particular episode, and it deals with inappropriate behavior, sexual assault, power and control, money and manipulation, and the fact that Stephen Avery felt untouchable. And the things that we'll be discussing today is his inappropriate touching of his own niece, Kayla. Also, that he had a relationship with his other niece, Marie Avery. And my understanding is that a lot of these events took place in January and February of 2004. Of course, we'll be discussing the relationship that Stephen had with Jody, his fiancée, and needless to say that that relationship was very, very volatile. And as a consequence of that, it had terrible consequences for everyone. And the two main spokespersons that you'll hear throughout the episode is both Earl and Candy, right? And Earl, of course, is Stephen Avery's own brother, and Candy at the time was Stephen's sister-in-law. Now, it's clear that from what you'll see from the clips, there is an incredible amount of tension with what Stephen did to both Kayla and Marie and Jody. There was a lot of tension between Earl and his brother, Candy and Stephen, but also there was a lot of tension between Chuck and Stephen. So overall, as a result of this horrible, inappropriate behavior by Stephen Avery towards his nieces, both Kayla and Marie, and the fact that he was violent against his own fiancee, Jody, there was a lot of tension between the family members, mainly directed towards Stephen Avery. Now, all of this accumulated. Sorry, Jack 61, did you have a comment?
Just to throw in a couple of things, and I don't want anybody to take this in any particular way, one way or the other. This is just information that's contextual for me. Maybe it's not for anyone else, but I'll offer it anyway.
Yes.
About what Doc said. This is a really touchy thing, and we don't. Doc and I have talked about this. I'm sure other people have talked about it. We don't mean any disrespect to anyone that's been through an episode with somebody that's done shit, and it is really triggering for a lot of people, and we get that. So keep in mind what Doc said. These events allegedly occurred in January and February of 2004. Be that as it may. There was an investigation by Calumet County, by CASO, in August. Is that right, Doc? I said that right. Yeah, August of 2004.
Correct.
I want to say this, and I'm not trying to find guilt or innocence or any of that shit. But in my opinion, if you read the report, I know Doc's read it. I read it. Well, I've seen it. I knew about it, several years ago. But the thing is, if they had found, in my opinion, if they had found anything that could have hung Stephen out to dry with Marie, they would have charged him then. Now, I know it got handed off to Green Bay, and that gets revealed in, I think, episode 3. At the same time, if they, in hearing them talk, well, if he was to get out at this point in time, then, he could potentially be charged with something. Well, if they didn't have anything to charge him with in 2004, how are they going to charge him in 2023 or 4? I don't really understand that logic. It's asinine to me to think that all this, just because all this stuff happened with Teresa over a year later, they didn't bring charges. To me, it's completely misleading, right, wrong, or indifferent about what did or didn't happen. With that being said, I got one more thing, and then I'll let you talk, Susan. I got one more thing to add. You think about in 2005, November, what did Poggle do? He said Wendy Baldwin after Marie. That continued on into January and February, and she wouldn't flip. And I'm sure Candy was working on her too. I have no doubt. And finally, Wendy Baldwin threatens her with a fucking John Doe hearing, where she's going to have to testify. They're going to subpoena people. I guess, I don't know what her thinking was, but to me, at that point, reading the report, I don't have access to anything else. All I can read is the report. Marie probably said, fuck it. What do you want me to say? I mean, she was probably scared the hell out of her. She, 18 years old at that point, just turned 18, maybe not. I don't know. She's pretty young. And I imagine at that point in time, she's probably like, okay, what do you want me to say? That's my opinion. Anyway, go ahead, Susan.
Susan.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Yep,
I didn't
all
mean
good.
to talk. I didn't mean to talk you down, Susan. I promise. I swear I didn't.
Yep.
You didn't, Jack. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. So again, guys, I just wanted to give a précis of the situation that occurred in around 2004. So everyone here understands the context. Now, here on the foul play team, we made a deliberate effort to not get involved in family drama or any family type of events. And as you know, the foul play team spends the majority of its time looking at the murder of Teresa Horbach to find out what actually happened to Teresa. That's where our main focus has been. However, Convicting a Murderer has used a lot of its airtime basically highlighting the behavior of Stephen Avery and what he's done to his nieces and also to Jody Stokowski. So it is very important that we cover both episodes 3 and 4 in a delicate manner with all due respect to everyone involved, because when it comes to things like this, I know that in Australia, it's always, if there is a complaint involving any type of abuse, it's covered by law enforcement, the appropriate authorities, and the courts. It's certainly not put out for the court of public opinion in the manner that Convicting a Murderer has done. Normally, matters like this are very, very private because they're very, very delicate. And Jack 61 highlighted the pressure that Marie was put under, because I've read the report as well. It would have been absolutely horrible for everyone. So again, guys, the main themes of Convicting a Murderer, episode number 3, were about inappropriate behavior, sexual assault, power and control, money and manipulation, and Stephen Avery having the feeling of being untouchable. And as I highlighted to you before, there was a huge amount of tension all pointed towards Stephen Avery. And let me tell you right now, if you've heard the phone calls between Chuck Avery and Jody, there definitely was an attraction between Chuck towards Jody. So that added, sorry, Jack 61. Do you have
yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a huge attraction.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, you could tell that he definitely wanted to take that over as soon as she got out, come live with him. You know, you got no place to stay. I'll take care of you. You're damn right.
Yeah. So as a consequence of all this tension, Stephen really, now remember, we're talking about 2004, right? Long before the murder of Teresa Horbach took place. There clearly was a lot of tension within the family. And that goes to explain, I believe, in large part, why the brothers and also Barb, I remember Barb as well, not really supporting Stephen in the early times when he was charged for the murder of Teresa Horbach. Remember, guys, they basically came to the agreement that Stephen had committed this murder. And I believe that's in part because of all this tension that took place. My final...
Well, yeah,
Sorry.
Doc, just to insert one more thing for context, I don't remember, seeming like it was early November when Fassbender went over to Chuck's house after Stephen had been arrested about 10 o'clock at night and talked to him for about, I don't know, it wasn't a long time, but after that, then he had this phone call with, or some kind of contact with Jody, and Chuck was basically at that point convinced that Stephen had done it. And he talked that way.
Correct. So in effect, I'm at two minds with Convicting a Murderer for actually putting this material out into the open for public consumption, because, you know, really there are many victims here. Of course, there's Kayla, there's Marie, there's Jody, and of course, we must never forget Teresa Halbach. They're all victims. But Convicting a Murderer set up this episode deliberately for you to accept that Stephen Avery, because of what he did to both Kayla, Marie, and Jody, he's your number one suspect of murdering Teresa Halbach. So that's the way Convicting a Murderer played out this episode. And what is shocking is that you'll see that both that Stephen had no support from any of his family members, especially from Chuck, especially from Earl, and also from Candy as well. And it's yes.
So, Doc, Danny
Yeah.
Mellis. Hi, Danny. Nice to see you in chat. He says,
Welcome.
could any of those allegations been looking for a payday if the wrongful conviction suit had paid out?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we're going to be discussing. The money, it's pretty obvious, guys. The money that Stephen was going to receive, he weaponized it. Well, according to both Chuck and Earl, he was weaponizing the fact that he was going to receive a lot of money, and he was using that money as a form of power and as a form of control. But these are allegations, but it's interesting that when Stephen Avery was charged with the murder of Teresa Halbach, it's quite clear that he received no support from his family. That was pretty obvious. And when you hear the calls between Chuck and Jody, there's some very, very powerful motives there to see that Stephen was out of the picture. That's a horrible thing to say, but I do believe that's quite obvious. What do you think, guys? Now hearing the calls.
I think that a lot of the family went back and forth.
Yes.
Yeah,
on
I
guilt
agree
and
with you,
innocence.
I agree with you,
Yeah.
Susan.
Yeah, I was listening to some early calls, and I think just before they charged Stephen with Teresa's murder, law enforcement set the family down. This is when Earl, right before Earl came out, or Candy came out on the news and said she thought he was guilty. And they had even convinced Pa. He was leaning toward guilt at that point. Earl and Candy definitely were. But they all went back and forth as time went on, and different evidence and stuff. So it's a crazy family. They all three of the boys have problems with their sexual behavior.
Violent behavior tendencies.
Yeah, all three of them. So, did they all three murder Teresa?
Yeah,
Because
and
of
if I
that.
could
Right.
if I could just answer a state advocate about the no support, I'm talking about what you see in Convicting a Murderer, right? The comments by Earl, Chuck really didn't give many comments, and also Candy. Oh, sure. As the panel members have said, there was a changing of support for Stephen. Is sort of like went to and fro from no, he's not guilty, he's being set up, to eventual acceptance of Stephen Avery's guilt. And by support, I actually meant, as you see in Convicting a Murderer, as in, of course, Mama Avery is gone now. She was a big supporter of Stephen. No, I meant in terms of comments that you see on Convicting a Murderer. And, everyone is free to give their own opinions, but that's what I meant by a support. Quite clearly, initially, there were a lot of people in his family who believed that Stephen was being set up. They thought it was another 1985 all over again. But I think you can see now that I believe that support has waned, especially the way Stephen is talking about his family. I don't really believe that he has much support now from his own family. Just an opinion. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, Doc. You know, with the recent revelations that we've seen that's come from Forex, added additions to the wrecking crew, I really feel like that. I don't know this. It's speculation on my part. He's got people telling him things that we can't hear, we don't know about. I mean, there are people that have been telling him for the last couple of years to fire KZ, even though they don't have a lawyer to take her place, have her prominence with her money. Just fire her. I just don't understand that logic, number one.
Yes.
But number two, I want to know what else they're saying to him, because if Stephen really thought about it, I just don't understand how he could ever come to any kind of conclusion that Brendan was involved at all, other than what his original statement was. Went over, helped him cleaned up some shit in the transmission fluid in the garage, burned some stuff, had a little fire, and he went home. That's it.
Yep, correct. It's easy for us as armchair enthusiasts to point a finger.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of us, and I hope I'm wrong, I don't think any of us have been placed in prison for something that we didn't do. I'm talking about the 1985 case.
Right.
And how that would alter a person, their behavior. But quite clearly, the important point is this, and I just wanted to answer Dark Side of the Moon's question. Under no circumstances are we stating that what Stephen did with any of his nieces, even with his fiancée Jody, was the right thing or appropriate. It's certainly
never condone that. Never.
Shocking behavior, but I believe, and just an opinion, it's a big leap that I believe that Convicting a Murderer has made, that because of his activity with his nieces, with his fiancée Jody, that he's your number one suspect of murder.
Well, they had to. They had to do that, Doc, because they don't have anything else. Why would you rely on stuff that happened, years prior, and then these few incidences after he got out to make this leap that he killed someone? To me, because that's how the direction of the show went. Starting from episode 1 of things that happened, going all the way back to 1981 and 2. I'm sorry, Susan. Please go ahead.
Susan.
I really think their point was in Cam, looking at the way that Ma'am showed Stephen's past,
sure,
and what they dug up on Stephen's past. I'm not saying that was right to do that, because you can't judge a murder on those past acts. But
not unless he had killed a bunch of people. I mean, if he'd killed a bunch of people, that's different.
Right. But I think, they're just trying to say, Ma'am, just whitewash Stephen and.
Well, Ma'am did. I mean, not totally, but they really kind of did. At the same time, though, I think we have to consider what Ma'am did was show old news clips, interviews with people, et cetera, no narrator, no start. I mean, there are a few people that did talk. You had Ma and Pa Avery that gave some statements. You had Kim DeCott. Then, you had other interviews like with an idiot like, Kaczynski. But at the same time, you didn't have the same dynamic like with Earl and Candy and some of these other people that got interjected. It wasn't the same dynamic at all. So you see I know you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A little more.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So Earl and Candy, or hell, anyone that they put in front of the camera can make claims without one anything of proof, and people just believe it. It's like, why would you believe that at all? You need something. And I don't, even to me, if you put Ma and Pa Avery or whoever, I need something tangible to back up what they're saying too, right?
Yep, correct. Because there is a danger. There is a danger with this type of journalism, this type of documentary, where you're making that massive leap of faith. And I know that Ken Kratz did it all the time during the trial, that he often said that if you believe that the police officers or any of the police officers planted forensic evidence, then you must believe that police officers killed Teresa Halbach, right? He said that during the trial. So he was asking people to make that leap of faith. In convicting a murderer, they're not asking you to make that leap of faith. They're showing you that because of Stephen's past behavior, that he is your number one suspect of murdering Teresa Halbach, right? And there was a question in chat. Jody Stokowski, I believe, went to prison on August the 15th. So she was in prison several months prior to the disappearance of Teresa Halbach on October the 31st. Right. Yeah. So again, guys, I feel very uncomfortable talking about this material. Personally, I believe that these matters are best to be dealt behind closed doors, but convicting a murderer opened it up and put it for everyone to see, good, bad, or otherwise.
Yeah, I think we have to talk about it. It's kind of like talking about. It's really like talking about Brendan and that whole. It's a really, it's different, but it's a really triggering and awful situation. It's awful to watch what Figert and Fassbender did to him, and Kaczynski, and that asshole O'Kelly. I mean, it was nothing short of child abuse to me, but that's just me.
Yep. And just to answer Brian Zollo's question, no, that does not necessarily mean that Stephen Avery had murdered Teresa Halbach, because he was the last person to see Teresa Halbach. In actual fact, the last person to see Teresa Halbach was Bobby Dassey, right? And even Ken Kratz said that the last person to see Teresa Halbach alive was Bobby Dassey, because Bobby had seen Teresa walking towards the trailer. And we've spent here on the Foul Play team, I remember having chats with Kelly, Kaf, all the guys for a long period of time. And we were trying to sort out, and here on the Foul Play team, we spent a lot of time talking about Bobby Dassey, Stephen Avery, their recollections, what they saw, what they didn't see. Could both of those events be mutually exclusive? Could it possibly be that Stephen Avery was telling the truth and he saw Teresa Halbach leave the Avery salvage yard, right?
Well, we can't forget also, Doc, that Bobby gave conflicting statements too.
He did.
Because he gave a statement on the 21st of November 2005 to Loy and his investigator that he saw Stephen walking towards his trailer, not Teresa. It was a one-word change. One word.
Correct.
And that's not even to mention the fact that, it could very possibly, she could have gone to Zippers afterwards.
That's
if
right.
She did leave the salvage yard, it wasn't any of them the last one to see her.
That's right.
We don't know. We don't know.
I agree.
Yep. I personally believe Bobby Dassey had nothing to do with Teresa Halbach at all. Right?
I agree.
I personally don't. You got to have some form of terrible maliciousness to have done whoever killed Teresa Halbach and the way they dispose of Teresa Halbach. Someone has to have a lot of anger and hate to do.
I don't get that from Bobby. I just don't get it from him. Regardless of whatever him and Blaine and the rest of the brothers looked at porn and whatever kind of porn on the computer. To me, that's childish shit. And
Correct.
Well, there may be some connection to that, and somebody that's thinking some really bad stuff that could be true. At the same time, I have to agree that there has to be some real seething anger underneath to do what was done to Teresa, and I don't get that from Bobby. I just don't.
Correct. From all the research that I've done and with all the discussions that I've had with a lot of people over a lot of years, Stephen Avery is a scumbag. There's no question. You can't hide.
Yeah.
You can't hide the horrible, horrible things that have been done, that he's done to others. But I don't see him as a malicious killer. I certainly don't see Brendan Dassey as a killer or a malicious killer or a rapist.
No way.
I do not. And okay, I've only spent about 5 years on this case, just about every day. I've read thousands of stuff and did a lot of podcasts with my team and with others on Jeff Jones' channel as well. From all the things that I've read, I don't see Stephen Avery as a killer, a scumbag. Yes, you can't hide that. You can't hide that personality. Were there others on the Avery salvage yard who potentially could have done this? Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately.
And we have to embrace the fact also at the same time and this is not a comparison, I guess, but it kind of is. We can't back away from the fact of how really, really shitty this investigation was. It was horrible. There were so many mistakes, and I call them mistakes. I'm just in comparison to other cases where I see law enforcement doing everything correct. They're allowing, somebody that they think did it. They're following their civil rights, giving them their due course at trial or whatever. They're not doing shady shit, things that are undocumented. They're bringing things properly to show this is why we think this person did it. You got so many instances in these cases, you don't have that at all. And in fact, we have evidence that's gone. It's gone forever, and been gone.
Correct. A lot of mistakes have been made. Susan, do you have a comment?
Oh no, I'm sorry, Doc.
No, it was myself, Doc. It's actually Travis Kemp in chat. He says, question. What did Stephen do between October 31st and when the investigation started went to Crivets? Is there any indication that his behavior or movements was different, or was he doing what was he doing about his normal life? Was he going about his normal life?
Basically, yes, except of course he was extremely worried. I think the family had already organized to go to Crivets. This was part of what they normally do. And his brother Chuck left one day early with Brendan Dassey. And most of the other family members went up to Crivets as well. But I think Stephen Avery had put two and two together. Right, he still left for Crivets. He left on the Saturday morning, the same morning that the RAV4 was found. So he left. He didn't stay behind. But I'm sure Stephen would have tweaked that things were not the same. Something was happening. Why? Because there were law enforcement officers who spoke to him, and he allowed, I think it was Lenk and Remica in his trailer to check out his trailer. Plus,
on the 4th.
Yep. Plus, he had members of the media talk to him, and I showed the clip last week where he was standing in front of the very vehicle that Teresa Horbach had photographed, and you can see the burn barrel right behind him. He was standing literally amongst all the forensic evidence, and he appeared to be calm and he appeared to be normal. But,
well, yeah, you think about that, Doc. Burn barrel you just mentioned. The burn pit was just back to his left, to his right. I'm sorry, to his right.
Yes.
And then if the RAV was on the property,
yes.
I mean, would he? I'm sorry, it doesn't work for me. Even I know Stephen's not the sharpest knife in the tool shed, but he's not that stupid. There's no way. Understanding that people are crawling all over the fucking salvage yard.
Yeah.
And all this stuff is just laying around that he allegedly did. I'm sorry, that doesn't work
Yeah.
for me.
Plus, he would have heard the news reports, Travis, that there were search parties going all around. So he would have been very well aware that things were not the same. Plus, on the 4th, he would have seen the aeroplane flying above his head, above the property. So things were not. I think he started to put 2 and 2 together. But if Stephen had said to his family, "Oh, today I'm not going to go to Crivets, I'm going to stay behind," then that would have been a change in his activities. And don't forget, I'm not sure what day it was, but he also invited members of the press that interviewed him at Crivets inside his cabin. Remember that one? I forgot the name of the gentleman with the grey hair that spoke to him for over a couple of hours, I think.
Aaron Keller?
Yeah, I think so, at Crivets. So he allowed people to come in, plus there were law enforcement police cars all up and down his driveway at Crivets. So yeah, he knew that something was definitely up. Thank you, Travis. Does anyone have any other comments?
I'm not seeing anything, Doc. If you're wanting to get to the clips or whatever, but
Yeah.
I'm not really seeing anything right now. Maybe Alice or Kay or Cherie has, but
Yeah, Alice, do you have a quick comment before we start our first?
It's actually a comment from Anthony Hills. He says, should we be discussing who then did it rather than how Stephen and Brendan couldn't have done it? But we can't talk about who done it because we don't know who done it.
Correct.
We can only speculate and opine on who done it. And some of us have got somebody in mind, somebody has got others in mind. But that's something that we will never be able to answer unless Kathleen can find something or anything like that. All I can say is on my part, is I have not seen anything that convinces me that Stephen did this.
And remember, guys, and I'm sure everyone in chat's fully aware, you can't start making accusations against someone without direct forensic evidence, without direct proof, right?
well, there's a danger in that, a huge danger, right?
Yep. And I know that Kathleen Zellner has had a lot of criticism as well, choosing Bobby Dassey as a Denny. And, you got to have direct forensic evidence. So that's why with the material that she's presented towards the judge, especially now with Baresh and also with Sawinski, trying to get the perfect Denny. I know that there are problems. I know that there are issues, but it'll be wrong for us, and same with people in chat, to start pointing at other potential suspects if you don't have direct forensic evidence that links them to crime.
Innocent until proven guilty, and with Zellner, I mean, she's really kind of been forced down this path by the court. She doesn't. She's trying to play within the guidelines that they forced her down. That's all she can do at this point without something more. That's my opinion, right, Doc?
Correct. And the big issue is if you're Kathleen Zellner, it's not easy for her to put a case in front of a judge, because if Kathleen Zellner went in with a plan to say, let's blame law enforcement for potentially planting forensic evidence, even Avery, it would have been tossed out the door quicker than she can put in her filing, right? Look what happened. Look what happened in Stephen's own defense the first time round with the planting of the blood, planting of the key, planting of a lot of the forensic evidence, and directly pointing to the police. It didn't go down too well, right? In fact, the planting hypothesis with police, Lenk, Colburn, that incensed the state. That incensed the attorneys, Kratz, Fallon, Garn. It drove them insane. So in essence, we had a trial within a trial. It was a disaster. So in my belief is if Kathleen Zellner tries to present, I believe law enforcement planted the key, planted bones, planted this, it'll go nowhere. That's just my personal opinion. All right, guys. If we don't have any more questions, maybe we can do the very first clip, Jack 61.
Yeah, I think we're good to go. Alice, Shree, Kay, you guys, are we good to go?
Yeah, let's go for it, guys.
All right.
Yeah, we seem to be okay then now. There's just others talking in chat. So, yeah, we seem to be fine.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. I'm going to play the first clip. And as a reminder, if you have a question, put a Q in front of it, and one of the mods will try to pick it up and we'll try to answer it. All right. Here we go. Clip 1.
Kayla has to testify.
What's that?
What Uncle Stephen did to her.
Kayla Avery is Candy and Earl Avery's biological daughter, Marie's half-sister. In 2004, Kayla tells Candy, her mother, about some inappropriate touching. Stephen tried to touch her chest or something along those lines.
Stephen one time pushed Kayla up against the wall, and I guess he was touching her breast and trying to give her a kiss, and Kayla got upset with him about it, and I told him that is not allowed, that is his niece, and if I ever hear about it again, that I will be turning him in. But that was before, I do believe that was before the Marie incident.
And they want me to go up and testify to tell them what Uncle Stephen had done all to me.
Yeah.
They want me to do that too.
Yeah, it's
All right,
pretty
guys.
icky. It's pretty icky stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I want to put this up. A second.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much, Jack 61. Do we have any comments on that clip? Katie.
So, did anyone ever turn these allegations into law enforcement at any point?
Not on
Are these
not on Kayla.
investigated?
Not on Kayla, but on Marie. But
Okay,
again, that happened in August of 2004, about
right.
a couple months before he filed the lawsuit. Again, and I'm not saying that anything about it is right. What my point in all that was, if they had a case to bring against Stephen, why didn't they? They didn't do it because, well, I mean, I can't speak totally from what their mindset was, but to me, if they'd had a case against Stephen, they would have brought it and they would have taken him to trial. So.
Hey, this also was not brought up in court, if I remember correctly.
No. Not that I'm aware of, Doc.
No. And
how we've got to remember and all that this is hearsay. You know, this is somebody that's told somebody that's telling somebody. Because like everybody's been saying, if there was something to bring a case, why was it not brought? Why did it only come out afterwards? You know, and it's innocent until proven guilty. So everybody's gone about saying that he's done this and he's done that and he's done this, and where's the proof?
Well, we also know that Candy had a real hatred for Stephen. He had I don't know what all their bottom line problems were, if it stems completely over Marie. I don't believe that it did. I believe there was a real problem with her thinking he's going to get this pile of fucking money. I think it was a problem for Earl and Chuck. I think there had to be a lot of discussion about that in any family, right? I mean, to me, there would be. If it was in my family, I know there would be. For hell, yeah. So I think there were other issues. I'm sorry, Susan. Please go ahead.
Oh, that's okay, Jack. But we also do hear Kayla later in Cam say that she was really pressured by law enforcement.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I'm guessing that was not long before she had this conversation with Brendan.
Yeah, but like we've said as well, I mean, it's hearsay. He's innocent until proven guilty. And if it is true and it ever comes out that it's true, then that's fucking disgusting. Plain, straight and simple. You know what I mean? But
Correct.
Oz Cam, in my opinion, was trying to do was smear Stephen's character even more, because like we've said, none of this stuff was brought up in court. You know, Cam was supposed to be about Teresa, not about 85 or anything else, even though it's connected. You know what I mean? And they bring up hearsay without proof. Everybody keeps saying to us, when we say something, where's your proof? You know what I mean? And we can do that because we've got documents, phone calls, videos, things like that. But a lot of people say things and they've not got proof. They can't bring proof. So a lot of us, all we can do is speculate, you know. And sometimes that's not even good speculating. But sometimes when you've not got much to go on, that's all you can do is speculate and opine to what you think. And that's why we always say, this is our speculation or this is our opinion. Because
I always try to do that, Alice. If I don't know for sure, I try to make I try to track a grain or something that's happened right before an event and speculate about that. But I try not to make gigantic leaps. It's wrong to me. It's wrong to do that. They can do whatever they want, but
yes,
I'd like to answer Darkside. She said, and pressured by her family too. Stephen getting his big money, etc. She was scared. Well, this interview took place long after Stephen settled his suit and all the money, was gone. He didn't have any at that time.
Well, yeah, this is clearly a jail phone a phone call when Brendan was in jail. So it had to be after March 1st, 2006, right?
Yeah.
But there
was no big money to get at that point.
Sorry, Susan.
That's okay. And I guess that's it.
Not only that, that Wayne got up in the stand, and I give her kudos for that, because that would have been a frightening thing to go up there. And she recanted. On everything that she said.
Darkside said that Kayla filed a report with the police. I don't recall that.
She did. I've never seen it. It's possible, I guess, but I've never seen a report.
She may have. But if I could just interject, this is the very reason why material like this shouldn't be part of a group discussion.
It's dangerous.
It really is something that should be dealt with the proper authorities behind closed doors, and if complaints are filed, the appropriate action is taken.
Right.
Like I said, I feel very uncomfortable as a father myself, talking about these events, which you cannot defend. They're terrible, right? They're inexcusable, and we're not here to defend Stephen's character and what he did. They're plainly wrong. But if both Candy and Earl had filed a complaint along with Kayla and along with Marie, filed a complaint, it should have been put through, right? If Stephen deserved to be punished by jail time, so be it. Right? We're all in agreement of that. You can't allow this type of behavior to go on, especially involving young females. That's completely inappropriate. But again, guys, I find it very uncomfortable having a debate about stuff like this, because it's not my family, it's somebody else's family. And these are the type of discussions that need professional people involved, not us. Jack 61.
Yeah, just to interject a little bit into that, and I'm not trying to drive us off track here, but I think this is just another thing that connects what you're talking about. We haven't published them, but I've talked about it. And I've got 20 or so reports on Chuck, and we haven't published them all because they're inappropriate, in my opinion. People can request them if they want, and put them on air, publish them on YouTube or whatever. I'm not going to do it, but we could do it and make a pretty strong case against Chuck. But it's inappropriate to do so. It won't work. It has to go and let people handle this without a lot of public input. And I'm not saying the public shouldn't ever know. They should, if there's a case. If there's not a case, you just made a bunch of fucking allegations against someone that's innocent.
And you can't do that.
You can't do that, right?
You definitely cannot do that. Correct. 100% correct. Katie, do you have a comment?
Oh, no, I just forgot to mute. Sorry.
Okay. Do we have any more questions from chat?
I haven't seen any, Doc. I've been trying to kind of keep an eye out. I don't see anything. Alice?
I'm just having a quick look. No, I think we're all right for. Oh no, wait. Oh no. That was near cute. I'm seeing things now. No, it looks like we're all there. Kelly McCallion just popped one in at the bottom there. Question: remind me, whose daughter is Kayla? Marie is Candy's daughter from a previous marriage, correct?
That's correct. So Stephen and Marie were not blood related. Despite that, there's no way that Stephen and Marie should have ever been involved in any type of relationship, full stop. Blood relationship or not, 100% inappropriate. Now, Kayla, I believe, was the biological daughter of Earl and Candy. Is that correct, guys?
Yes, and Marie was a daughter from a previous relationship Candy had, and she also has another daughter that's older from a previous relationship. So, yeah.
Correct. All right, guys, if we don't have any more questions, let's get on with clip number 2.
All right, here we go. Yep, clip number 2.
Got out, he thought he was bulletproof. You know, nobody could touch him. Nobody could do anything. So he could get away with this, he could get away with that. He always said that, you know.
I'm gonna do what I want now. I had enough people tell me what to do.
He could do anything he wanted to do. They gave him power. And it's not good for an Avery to have power.
I ain't gotta listen to nobody. I listened to motherfuckers for over 18 years. I don't listen no more. I don't give a fuck about anything. I come first.
He got to the point that he had it in his head that he was untouchable. He always talked about his money.
He'd always promise everybody he'd promise, oh, I'm gonna build you a house, I'm gonna give you money, you do this, you do that.
See?
Well, at one time he told me to help him fix his cars, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He said that later on when he gets his money that he was gonna buy me a car.
Look at Brendan, how many times he told my girls to be quiet when he would go see Marie wherever.
Yeah.
Look at the time that he showed up at Fox Hill.
Yeah.
Telling Brittany, oh, you don't say nothing, I'll buy you a 4-wheeler or whatever.
Yeah.
There was one time me and my sisters went to Fox Hills and we were there swimming. Turned around, Stephen came walking through. And I'm like, well, what are you doing here? And he wouldn't really respond. He's like, but you can't tell your parents that I came here. I'm like, okay, why would my parents care? Like, but I didn't know that there was anything going on. It was just very hide everything at that time.
In 2004, he started dating Jody and ends up moving in with her.
The best thing, probably when I met Jody, that I felt that I could be loved again.
You know, it was very much portrayed as this lovey-dovey relationship, and it very well may have been at times, but also I think there was some rockiness to that relationship that wasn't portrayed in the film.
Oh, well, of course. And I think that at one time, Doc, that Jody and Steve did really love each other. But I think it was a really volatile thing because Stephen clearly needed help when he got out. He needed guidance 6 months before, you know, I'm sure they didn't Well, actually, they probably did know for a while, but he needed help readjusting and reacclimatizing because he had been in there for at least 12 years wrongfully. So I'm sure he was pretty fucking pissed.
Correct. And again, what was mentioned by Earl and the others was about the money. The money was a big issue because remember, Stephen had been in prison for a long period of time. 12 years he shouldn't have been in there for, of course, for what he did to his cousin, running her off the road, pointing a gun. That's disgraceful behavior, and he deserved prison time for that. But as a consequence of being in prison for so long, he had basically lost his entire family, his children, his relationship, everything. Then, 18 years later, when they do the DNA experiment to exonerate Stephen, he basically was released and walked out into society. There's absolutely no way Stephen should have been let loose the way he was, right? Potentially, he could have had a lot of pent-up anger, and you can see some of the comments that he made in phone calls and in front of the camera. He didn't want to listen to authority. He didn't want to listen to people. So basically, he believed that he had free reign. There's no doubt, in my opinion, that he needed help. He needed intervention. You can't just suddenly go from being in prison, being told what to do every day, and then suddenly you let loose. You let loose on a family. Now, as you know, both Chuck and Earl, they've got extensive criminal records. The Avery salvage yard itself was not a safe place. And there were a lot of problems, both involving Chuck, Earl, and others, right? The police knew them quite well. Now, Stephen is released back into this environment where he believes he can do anything he wants. But to complicate matters, he was part of a civil suit involving law enforcement. And potentially, he could have got a lot of money. And that money was used as a weapon. And I believe that Stephen, you weaponized that money to basically have influence over many, many people. And let me tell you right now, you can tell by the comments from Chuck, from Candy, and also from Earl, that money potentially was a game changer.
It created a lot of problems, Doc, a lot of problems.
And a threat. So you think about it, right? The boys, Chuck and Earl, and also the father, they had to carry on with business for 18 years without Stephen. All of a sudden, Stephen is released. He's now a local hero, a local superstar, right? Shaking hands with the media, shaking hands with the politicians, having a bill named after him. He would have felt bulletproof. But the question that everyone should have on their lips is, was he capable of murder? Yeah, he demonstrated scumbag behavior, but was he capable of literally butchering Teresa Halbach? That's the big question that we need to answer. What Convicting a Murderer is doing is they're steering you in that direction. Look at Stephen's behavior. Of course, he's your number one suspect, right? So that's what we need to address. That's what interests me as a researcher into this case. Was he capable of doing this? And what is interesting is hearing the comments of Brendan Dassey. Brendan Dassey must have forgotten that he too is charged for the same crimes that Stephen was, right? And it's interesting that Brendan will make the comments, well, my uncle promised me he was going to buy me this and he was going to buy me that. So it's pretty obvious that the brothers, the sister-in-law, saw the money as a threat, and Stephen was using it as a big stick, right? Did that mean that people like Marie, Jody was attracted to the fact that, wow, potentially I'm going to have a lot of money, I'm going to get out of this place, whatever?
Of course they were.
Now, I'm
These
not.
are poor. These are poor people. They don't. I mean, they they got enough to get by and eat, but
Yes.
a lot
Yes.
of the attractive and expensive and new shit, they didn't have money for that.
Yes. Now, I'm not saying that as an excuse,
No.
because that's disgusting behavior. But think about this. Stephen never had access to a lot of money. And money, as you know, can buy you things, etc., etc. But unfortunately, Stephen needed guidance. If he was
Huge.
going to come across a lot of money, he needed a lot of guidance. Also, guidance on how to treat people.
Yes.
Obviously, his relationship and mannerism with women was shocking. If I was a brother and he did that to my own daughter, I would have knocked him out. I understand the angst and the terrible feelings that would have been created in that family, and that's why they needed guidance. Stephen Avery needed guidance from before he even stepped out of prison. Right? You can't let loose a loose cannon like that back into the Avery salvage yard. And as you can see, even though he was having a relationship with Jody, from what I heard, Marie kept on phoning Stephen, and that caused a lot of tension between Jody and Stephen.
There's a good comment from John Wayne.
Yes.
Yet there, don't tell me that SA was never asked by his family whether he'd do something for them if he got all that money. You know, and that's another consideration. I mean, Avery knew he was due to get. I'm talking about by the end of October 2005, he knew he was due to get this 440 or 50,000 from the state. Why would he do anything to jeopardize that? I mean, that would have been. I mean, I'm not saying that would have necessarily set him for life, but if he is careful and invested that money, he could have been set for life. That's not even including the civil lawsuit.
Correct. 400,000 back then was a lot of money. But potentially, imagine if he got between $5 and $8 million. Right?
That's right.
That's a game changer. And I believe that there was a lot of tension between the brothers because from what I've read, from what I've heard, the brothers were not impressed that Stephen was selling cars for profit, right? To get money from the cars. They weren't happy about that. And Stephen spent a lot of time repairing cars and setting them up for sale.
Well, yeah, he had to do something. Yeah, he had to do something to generate income to supplement what he was making at the shop, right?
Correct. And my understanding is he wasn't going to get a cut if they were selling the business. He wasn't going to get $1 because if you see on the blue shop, it's got Earl and Chuck. It doesn't
That's
have.
Right. That's right.
So think about it, right? The brothers already put it in their head that they were never going to see their brother again. And all of a sudden, 18 years later, he comes out of prison, a free man, a celebrity, right? Too much happened too soon.
Well, with the potential of becoming a millionaire. I mean, that changes everything in the dynamic of the family.
Money is a game changer. Yeah. And it's amazing how you hear stories of people that win multi-million-dollar lotteries. All of a sudden, they're getting phone calls from people they haven't seen or heard from in years.
Oh, seventh cousin 14 times removed, you know.
Yep. So unfortunately for Stephen, the money would have been a big game changer, right? So it almost gives the brothers a motive to get rid of Stephen because Stephen, his presence on the property was a very, very disruptive force. And what he was doing to the women on the property, his nieces, his own fiance, was a disaster. Complete, utter disaster. Do we have?
Yeah,
I can't see your microphone.
Money's always going to do that, Doc. You know what I mean? Whether you're a family like Stephen or you're a middle-class family or a working-class family or whatever, you know, money will always cause arguments in a family dynamic. If one person wins 40 million on the lottery, you try to tell me that there isn't going to be family members that are coming out and going, "Oh, you won the lottery, go give us a tap." you know, case of any money, or I've got this adventure in mind, or can you know what I mean? And that's probably, and the person who's won the money, of course they're going to be on a high. They're going to be on their high horse, and they're going to be, nobody can touch me. I've got all this money coming. And then as for Errol turning around and saying, oh, he said that he was going to give money to this person and buy a person a house and everything like that. I've told people that if I win the lottery, I'll buy you a house. I'll build you a house. I'll take you all on holiday. You know what I mean? It's something that's said and something that is done when there is an exceptional, because to them it would have been an exceptional amount of money, you know. And this is just my speculation because of experience. Some of it is through experience and that as well. When somebody is either coming in to a huge amount of money or is due to get a huge amount of money, you get people crawling out the woodwork, all of a sudden coming and saying hello to you that you haven't seen in 10 years, or you know what I mean? And they're all of a sudden crawling out the woodwork because you're going to be coming into money or you've won money, you know?
Yes.
So money can be a marvelous thing, but it can also be a dangerous thing because you get greedies that come out, and you get ones that try and want to push their luck and see. And yes, Stephen probably did go a bit with a chip on his shoulder about how he's coming into all this money and everything like that. Who wouldn't he? You know what I mean? He spent time in jail for something that he didn't do. So in my opinion, quite frankly, he deserved every penny that was due to him. Every penny. Whether what his past was or not, he was convicted for something he did not do.
Yep, I agree.
So he was due every penny.
But Alice, here's the problem. The problem is this. His behavior on the Avery salvage yard was causing a lot of tension, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is way before the murder of Teresa Horbach happened.
That's right.
There was definitely tension amongst the family members, right? The fact that he was doing things to both Kayla and Marie and also Jody did not sit well with the family members. But the sting in the tail was that he was going to receive potentially millions of dollars. And the whole idea of Stephen doing these things and also getting a lot of money was unpalatable to certain family members, right?
Yeah.
And that may explain why eventually they all jump ship. I said, yep, he's the killer. He's definitely the killer.
I think Cherie had a question a minute ago. I saw her mic unmuted.
Yes.
Cherie, did you have a question or comment? Okay, maybe not. I saw her mic unmuted. Maybe she stepped away. All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she stepped away. She stepped away for a bit. There's Lisa Hargraves has joined us from Facebook. She says, a little bit bothered by calling Stephen a scumbag over things that have not been proven yet. We can't say anything bad about anybody else because they haven't been proven.
Yes. But again,
we do have instances in phone calls where his behavior was terrible. It's absolutely I won't say not necessarily criminal. I'm just saying that he was a jerk. He treated people really bad. That's just an opinion, and I certainly respect yours. But there were things that he said to various family members and others that in my opinion, he shouldn't have done it in his position. He just shouldn't have done it.
Yep. And compounding that other issue was that I do believe that he really loved Jody, and his aim was to actually get married, get a house, move out.
Yeah.
The other compounding problem was, as you'll see, Jody was very, very upset of his relationship with Marie. That caused a lot of tension, right?
And Debbie.
Oh yeah, and Debbie Klemp as well. So the mere mention of either of those two ladies really triggered Jody, and understandable too. But the other problem for Stephen was that Jody kept on ending up in prison for
Well,
DUI.
she was an alcoholic, and that's another huge part of the relationship problem because she liked to drink and he didn't want her to.
Yep. And my understanding is that Stephen himself was not a big drinker or a smoker. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
No, he didn't smoke and he didn't drink that much, as far as I know.
Yep. And he personally felt very, very frustrated that his fiance kept on going into prison. I'm not excusing Stephen's bad behavior because it is bad behavior. But what I'm saying is there were a lot of compounding problems all occurring at the same time.
That's right.
Before the murder of Teresa Hallbach, right?
Yep.
So there was a lot of tension, a lot of issues. And I think Stephen was using that money as a form of leverage over everyone, and people did not like that. They did not like that. All right.
We have a comment from JJ Falk, Doc. I want to know. I wonder how much money Candy got for Cam.
Well, the foul play team got zero.
Yeah, we got nothing.
We
don't know. Yeah, we were never offered anything.
No.
Yeah, I don't. We can't answer that question for anyone else that appeared in the program. We have no earthly idea.
Yeah, we never even got advanced copies of Cam. Nothing.
And others did. We know that for a fact that copies were sent out to people in advance, and that's fine. But typically in these situations, I think a lot of times for these documentaries, people don't necessarily get paid, but they get like gifts or a gift bag with blah 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 in it as a kind of a way to say thanks.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Correct. And it's interesting talking about Candy. I think one of the very early video clips was that they showed Candy saying, no, the guys that he's innocent. They've been set up, the police don't like the Avery family, blah, blah, blah. And the massive turnaround where basically she's now pointing a finger directly at Stephen. The turnaround was huge. And Jody did exactly the same.
Yeah. Just what you saying there, Jack, about getting paid in that.
Yeah.
I remember a while back with the Tiger King series, and that Jinx had discovered the forgery, and she showed Jacket and everything, and that's how she ended up on Dateline, and a lot of people were, accusing her of being paid and everything like that. And she laughed at them and she says, all I got was like a goodie bag. And I think it was a t-shirt and a hat.
And she got a CD of the program.
A CD, that's what it was, something like that. So, I mean, she wasn't paid mega bucks or anything like that. You know what I mean? So,
no.
And that's maybe something that they got, but I can't see them have gotten any money. But then you just don't know, do you? So
no, we don't know.
Yep. And I think there was a question. I think Stephen and Brenda did receive some recompense for appearing on MAM.
They got $5,000. I think that went into their Yeah, I think that's right. That went into their commissary accounts at prison.
Yep, correct. But we're not aware of who got paid or whatever. And even if Foul Play got offered money, we wouldn't have accepted it.
It would have went.
We would have given it away.
We would have given it to some charity, like String and Beating or part of or Uncuff. Yep, that's right. We wouldn't have accepted it. We didn't do it. We didn't do it for money.
No, everyone here on the Foul Play team, we don't get any money. We do it because we love what we do, and we're willing to give up our free time willingly. We love what we do. So
that's right.
No. All right, Jack 61. Can we have the next clip, please? I think
here we go.
I'm going to try and finish.
Clip 3. Here we go.
About Marie?
Yeah. Jody hears more and more about Marie, and there's definitely some tension in between Jody and Stephen.
You're the only one I want. Just honest God truth. That I love you. You think I was lying to marry you?
You told somebody else that once too.
Who?
Who?
Oh, Marie?
Yeah.
Well, that's after when I first got out. But that's over.
He said it was over, but she wouldn't leave him alone.
She just got right in his web and got addicted. I mean, she was young, you know, and he was, to her, he was famous. And she probably wanted a part of that. He promised her a lot of things, fame and fortune, put it that way.
Stephen told Marie that they could have a relationship because she was not born in the family.
You go as well. You're not technically you're not technically my niece.
When we found out, and then we told her, and she got all mad at us, you know, because she was obsessed with Steve. So it was hard to talk to her.
Stephen made Marie feel special. I think that's probably the simplest way to put it. He promised her things. He took her to special places. She's probably looking at him as someone who can give her guidance. Plus, there's the added benefit that he's a celebrity, right?
I got to pause it right here because now she's adding in, he took her to special places. Like where? I mean, come on. Where did he take, what kind of special place? So this is just a pile-on from Candace Owens that has no idea what she's talking about. I just had to add that in. I apologize.
That's all right.
All right, here we go.
He's a hometown celebrity. He was falsely accused of a crime. There's no way the power dynamics in that relationship were even.
Fall of 2004, Calumet spoke to the family. Marie really wasn't admitting that he had ever done anything inappropriate. They knew there was possibly something to it, but she wouldn't actually admit it until January 27th of 2006.
A story popped up about the Brown County DA reviewing a sexual assault allegation against Stephen Avery.
And again, this is after Wendy Baldwin threatened her with a Jane Doe or John Doe hearing, whatever the hell you call it. And I'm sure she's probably like, and they had been after her for months already. That probably scared the shit out of her. That's my opinion. I can't prove that. It's speculation on my part. But here she is, 18, 17, 18, whatever she was. She was young, under 20 years old. I know as an 18-year-old, it would have scared the shit out of me.
Correct. But you see, there's multiple issues here. For a start, Jody was extremely upset that Marie kept on pursuing Stephen.
Yeah.
And that caused a lot of tension. And even though Stephen was saying, hey, look, we're finished, we're over, I'm sorry, no woman is gonna, once you scorn a lady, you're in big trouble for forever, right? And so you can see that Stephen said, look, our relationship is over. This was before you came along, but Jody wasn't going to accept that. And that still caused a lot of tension. And the fact that Marie was also pursuing Stephen, that caused a lot of tension between Earl and Candy and Marie. Yeah. So even though Earl and Candy were saying, no more, you can't see Stephen, it was Marie that kept on pursuing. But the bottom line is this: the relationship should have never, ever started.
No.
Stephen, being the older person, should have put a stop to it immediately. Should have never, ever got involved with Marie.
Not in that kind of relationship. He should have, if he wanted to buy her something he got that money and buy her a little something. And Kayla, I don't think there's anything inappropriate, but there should have never been any kind of expectation in return.
No, because once you use that money as a form of leverage, you're in a slippery slope straight to hell. And again, that caused a lot of concerns, a lot of problems. Yeah. And in a way, I understand Marie. She just wanted to forget about it, wanted to drop it. It was a very bad experience. but Wendy Baldwin wanted to keep on pursuing it, rightly or wrongly. I can't offer an opinion on that. I really can't. What do you think, guys?
I mean, to me,
Wendy Baldwin did.
Yeah, I mean, to me, when this order came down, I mean, this case had, like I said, we've got the report. The case had already been investigated in August of 2004, and if they had a case, they would have brought it. There are a number of problems, of course, and we haven't talked about it, but there were a number of letters that Marie had written that Stephen had kept, and I guess he told Dolores to get those letters because, you know, again, we don't condone any of this at all. But for Stephen to protect himself, he's like, look, she was in love with me. I guess, you know, that's what he's saying. Get those letters and keep them. So that was a huge problem. She wouldn't admit anything inappropriate happened at that time. So the case didn't go anywhere. It dropped. And then, of course, when after the Teresa incident, I think middle of November, like the 17th, Pagel sent Wendy Baldwin after Marie again. So
correct.
Whiskey for breakfast in chat says, question, there seems to be a suggestion that Wendy pressured Marie, but at the beginning of the episode it says Marie stands by her statements. Do you think they're lying?
Well, you can read the report. I mean, it's available in KSO. You can read exactly what Wendy did. I mean, by that report.
I don't think they're lying. I do think that a sexual encounter happened between the two of them.
Yeah.
Just lost my train of thought.
Yeah, but was it a forced encounter or was it consensual? That's the difference. She's saying for months and months and months it was nothing like that happened, and then all of a sudden now she's changed her mind after she gets threatened with a Jane Doe earring. That's what happened. Anybody can read the report. It's in KSO.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
But
No, go, Susan.
Well, you know, even if it was forced, I will not condone it for 1 second.
No.
Either way.
No.
Either way, but
it should have never happened.
Right. It should have never happened. She was 17. I mean, 17 is a legal age in Missouri, and it's a legal age in many states. But, and the fact that she wasn't actually his niece, he didn't, like, he was in prison up until she was, 17 or whatever. It's not like she grew up with him as a kid. I'm not condoning it. Don't get me wrong. And I just think that Marie really, whatever happened, she really did not want to bring this on Stephen. She was infatuated with Stephen. And she was, I think, kind of forced into making this report. It's something she really didn't want to do, but
I agree with that.
But she was kind of, pressured into making the report. And
to answer Whiskey,
and all of it overall, it doesn't mean that Stephen murdered Teresa.
That's right.
No matter what happened there, bringing all this stuff up, it's terrible. But this whole case is about murder. It's
right.
not about bad acts like this.
Correct. And again, and sorry, Susan, again, that's why for us, it's very, very difficult to comment because these are horrific events that took place that need to be dealt with by professional people, not us just making comments because we can't argue with anyone. I'm reading all the comments in chat, guys. Well, we are in total agreement with you. The behavior by Stephen was reprehensible. He should have never been involved with any of his nieces. In fact, his relationship with Jody was a complete disaster from woe to go. We totally agree. What I have issue with is the way Convicting a Murderer packaged all this up as a curveball to throw at the viewers to say, see, he murdered Teresa Hallbach.
Well, they didn't tell the whole story. They left a good chunk of it out, and it goes to context. So if we say, and I completely agree, what this whole thing with Marie and anyone else should have never happened. At the same time, what about the actions of a law enforcement officer that kept after someone, basically, like Susan said, forced them into this situation and said, all right, fuck it, what do you want me to say? I mean, that's what I'd get out of it. That's just an opinion. It doesn't mean I'm right.
Yeah. Just to get Whiskey for Breakfast's comment, they said, she says that she stands by her statements now. So what is it? Yeah, but she says, oh, I've just lost that again, bugger. Well, we don't know. You would have to ask her that. I mean,
but she didn't. But she didn't want to appear in cam. And to me, that's another problem. They played stuff that happened long ago, but she didn't appear in Convicting a Murderer.
Yeah,
I understand that, but again, it goes to backing something up. It's like the Sowinski incident. Until we got that phone call, his statement was shaky as shit to me. But then we got the phone call that had been hidden for 18 years or whatever how long it was, and it suddenly we've got a little bit of a ball game going here because he did call, he did report something. So again, she didn't appear in Convicting a Murderer. In many ways, I don't blame her. At the same time, she needed to, in order to give all this credence.
Correct. And don't forget the same thing happened with Jody. The way we get, I think it was a Baldwin as well, the way they pressured her. Initially, Jody was not interested, but they kept on pressuring her all the time. And then we see what happened with Jody. So now she completely flipped, and now she believes that Stephen had murdered Teresa Hallbach. So a lot of people were placed under a lot of pressure. They were prepared to just let it go, drop it, not continue. It was a bad experience. They don't want to relive it again, but they were pressured by law enforcement, right? So now, look, 100% agree. What happened with both Kayla and Marie are shocking and disgusting, right? It's very interesting because in a case or report, Earl Avery used the same word to describe Kayla. He said that he wouldn't allow Kayla to go to a bonfire because Kayla was infatuated with Stephen. So they're all drawn to Stephen because, he was an exoneree. He was now a public figure in the spotlight on TV, in the newspapers. He had a civil lawsuit. He was going to get a lot of money. He attracted a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, right? So it's amazing that Earl used the same word for Kayla, an infatuation. I have a feeling that's exactly what Marie felt for Stephen, an infatuation. It's something that should have never, ever taken place.
Never.
43-year-old grown man and a 17-year-old? No.
What about a father with his own small children?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. If we were to read out what Earl did to his own kids, we'll be thrown off the air right now.
Yeah,
right.
Probably.
And so that's why I have a lot of issue when I see Earl pointing a finger at his own brother. The crimes that he did against his own kids when they were very young and others, it's horrendous. We're not defending that, but there are no winners here at all. It's just a horrible, horrible situation, and it's difficult for us to talk about.
Well, I want to answer whiskey's whiskey for breakfast question. So, rape victims need to appear in a documentary to be believed. That's not what I said.
No.
And that's certainly not my intent. If that's the way it was taken, that's not what I said at all.
No, absolutely not. There's no doubt that inappropriate sexual activity took place, but we're not the judges of that. You have to go with the appropriate authorities.
That's right.
It has to be handled by the right authorities, not the court of public opinion. Guys, we're not against you guys in chat. We're with you. Right? We're parents. Most of us are parents. Most of us have got kids. That type of behavior, that's not on. Definitely not on. But our point all along is this. Did this cause Stephen to murder Teresa Halbach?
Right.
That's what he's in prison for. Did this cause Brendan Dassey to be involved in rape and murder? Because that's what he's in prison for.
That's right.
That's what convicting a murderer is, steering you, me, and everybody else towards that conclusion.
Yeah. Lisa Hargrave's got a question. So, is Earl a scumbag? Well, that's a matter of opinion. We've got a couple of reports. We don't have everything posted in the Foul Play Library, but there are a couple of reports that, you can draw your own conclusions. They've been around. I've actually got the last report that I got was from August of 2018. I said this a couple of times already. August of 2018, and you think about when Convicting started filming.
19,
and I know it wasn't 2018. So you got to wonder. And that report from that time was, I think they called it neglect, but, a young female got her breast bruised. Those reports are available. People can draw their own conclusions. I'm not calling him a scumbag, but you got to look at it and think, well, what the hell, man? I do.
Correct. But again, guys, we're only rebutting episode 3, right?
Yeah.
That's what our aim is, and we're gonna get to a conclusion towards the end when we see the end clip. That's the important thing. Everyone has a different feeling about Stephen and his character and personality and what he did. We do not condone that behavior at all. 0. All right. Do we have any other questions?
No, we're all good, Doc.
We're all good.
Yeah, just a comment. There's a lot of comments rolling through. There's a little combo in the live chat, and I just put it up. John, if that's the case, how can anyone blame Earl or Chuck? I mean, I'm not going to go back into that. I just wanted to get that up there. Yeah, I can get what we're at, clip 4, I think. Got clip number 4.
Let's go for it.
All right, here we go. Clip 4.
Thank you.
Huh? I don't know. Yeah, your goddamn wife.
What's my wife got to do with it? Don't bring my wife into it.
She always talks bad about me. Why keep on picking on me?
Who is?
Everybody.
Stephen really does have a classic victim mentality. Even when he is being the aggressor, he always points to what's being done wrong to him. In this particular scenario, he's upset because Candy is speaking badly about him, and he believes that she's influencing Marie to be afraid of him. It's never anything that he's done. It's never anything that he's said. It's always everybody else.
That he started forcing it against my mom and dad, saying that they're bad. He would tell them how, like, my mom and dad hated me. You know that's not true, right? Now I do.
At the beginning, she run after him all the time. Yeah. And I was meeting her all over.
But before I was legal, I think it's because I was around him so much. We had to speak for a second. So that's when I stayed in there.
Despite all of the horrible testimony and information about what Stephen did to Marie, people somehow still managed to see a world in which, of course, he was the victim.
I find that interesting
that the timing is so perfect that Marie is coming forth and they're investigating if Stephen be charged with statutory rape or not.
So for true, there's, instead of the most logical explanation that Marie was actually raped, it's more believable to imply that Investigator Baldwin coerced Marie to make up stuff about Stephen.
It turns out that it was more of a consensual relationship.
So he is 42, 43 years old at the time, allegedly having sex or raping a 17-year-old. And with the online community, it's all Marie recanted, Marie lied. I've seen excuses for it. I've seen people say, well, you know, in XX country, you don't have to be 18 to give consent. It doesn't matter what age she was if it isn't consensual.
Right. Do we have any comments about that? You know, what's interesting, and this is what I find potentially very frustrating, is the way Brenda is tarnishing everyone, or the so-called truther community, with the same brush. I don't believe us as a group collectively have ever spoken about these matters. Not once. Not once at all. We've always remained case focused for that particular reason. And I believe that was Rubber Ducky who had made those comments, if I heard that correctly. I think that was Rubber Ducky. That would have been a long time ago. Yeah.
Long time ago.
Correct.
You know, again, I think that this was as you've said all along, all the way through this, people have to read the material that we have and draw their own conclusions. For the 100th time, we don't condone any of it. And if anyone says that we do, they're lying to you. We do not condone it at all. But you have to take all the context. That's all we're saying. You have to read it all.
Correct. Yeah. Again, it's very, very hard for me to comment on it. It's certainly not an area that I'm an expertise in. And again, this type of material should have been, in my opinion, dealt behind closed doors, because it is very, very sensitive. And I could, see the comments in the chat. There's a lot of angst there, and rightly so.
Sure.
But again, that's why this material needs to be in front of the appropriate people with the appropriate discussions. And I'm sure that people like Kayla and Marie must be feeling really bad that the case again is out in the public and again being discussed in such a public manner. That doesn't help the situation at all.
I think, Doc, that, again, for me, if they had a case that they felt like that they could prove in court, why didn't they? That's the real sticking point, I guess, in the overall. So, you have a lot of salacious allegations that are floating around out in public. The story is horrible. I don't give a shit who you are. It doesn't matter. Marie was too young to have any kind of relationship with a 40-year-old man. I don't give a damn who he is.
Correct.
But then it's pointed at Stephen. Again, if they had a case, why did they bring it? That's my problem. And I think it's a problem for everyone. And like I said, I hear they're talking about excuses. Well, they had all this going on with Teresa. Bullshit. Look at what happened in '85. They had the Sandra Morse incident, and then this incident happened with Penny. They had both cases. They had the Penny trial, and he got the trial about Sandra Morse, and he got, so they had a double whammy there. This kind of thing happens all the time. They could have one trial, and then they could have the other trial. So I'm not going with this other excuse. Well, they had Teresa to deal with, and blah blah blah. Sorry, that doesn't work for me.
Well, here's an interesting question, and I'm going to ask this question to my panel. I'm going to ask this question in chat. Did episode 3 made you change your mind about Stephen murdering Teresa Hallbark? Jack 61.
No,
yes,
because I already knew about the Marie incident. I'd already read. I mean, I hadn't heard the recording, But it still doesn't change my mind because they didn't bring a case against him, and that's the real significance for me.
Yep. Okay. Katie, did it change your mind? Episode 3.
No,
Okay.
it did not.
Okay. Susan, what about yourself?
No, Doc, it didn't change my view of whether he murdered Teresa. And I think you made a really good point. I think that Cam was re-victimizing these people that were victims.
They did.
And that's very sad.
Correct. And remember, I think it was our last week's rebuttal as well, how terrible things were for poor Penny when Stephen got exonerated, the dramatic effect that it had on her being put in the spotlight. And the amazing thing is Stephen hugged her and forgave her, right? And that's an incredible act. I don't recall, has episode 3 changed your mind on Stephen Avery?
No, it was just another attempt to say, don't look at, the lack of evidence in the murder case. Look at all this stuff, That's what I see. Thank you.
Okay. Alice, what about yourself?
No, it didn't change my mind at all. Not one single bit. I still believe Stephen shouldn't be there and Brendan definitely shouldn't be there. There's just nobody's been able to give me a motive, Doc. Why? What was the motive for Stephen doing this? You know what I mean? Or Brendan. And I don't believe for a minute that Brendan had anything to do with it at all. But when it with Stephen, I mean, like we've said, he had a colourful past. It wasn't very good. But these allegations, because that's all they are, and like Jack said, they were trying to get him on everything for Teresa. That was including a rape, murder, and everything like that, So if there was these allegations there and he was charged with anything or anything like that for these incidents that were supposed to have happened with Marie and everything like that, then you're damn tootin' they would have used that in trial. They would have got Willis to get that in as part of assassinating his character and saying, well, he's done this before, but there was nothing there, because that would have really have helped the state's case if this information was there, in my opinion anyway. So no, it hasn't changed my mind whatsoever.
Yeah. For me, no, it hasn't. I read most of CASO myself, and I knew the allegations and the inappropriate behavior of Stephen. I read most of CASO. It's all there in black and white. And we're talking about in 2006 stuff. I knew that Stephen was not a person of good character. He'd done some incredibly bad things, but it didn't change my mind. What really gets me is that convicting a murderer are using precisely the same excuses what Kaseric did back in 1985. Because you did this to your cousin, then you're the rapist or the sexual assault of Penny Bernstein. Put 2 and 2 together. And I vividly remember Jack 61, Susan, I think you were there as well. Brenda was trying to lead us up that path as well when he pointed a gun at his cousin, Sandra Morris. Oh, he was going to rape her, don't you? And I'm there.
That's right. Like what?
Wait a minute. That actually never happened, right? And yeah. You've got to be cautious about jumping to a conclusion, because if that's the case, a lot of people are going to end up in prison for something that they didn't do, right? Because of your character and what you've done in the past means that you're number one target for murder. And I think it was state advocate who made the comment about, oh, okay, well, look at the behavior of Earl and Chuck. Are they potential murderers too? Right? And that's a very good question. But then I flip it and say, why Stephen a good candidate in that case? Right? Either all three brothers are good candidates or none of them are. Right, guys?
That's right. That's right.
What applies to Stephen applies to the other two brothers, right? And if you look at Chuck's criminal record, he's actually even more scarier to be amongst women because of his
far more,
violence, because
far
of
more.
his explosive violence and what he's done, right? I'm more scared of him than I would ever be of Stephen, right? But then again, you see, this is the danger of where convicting a murderer is trying to steer people to draw a conclusion. All right, Jack 61, can we have the next slide, please? We're doing well. Or we want to finish this today. The next one.
Absolutely. Yep. We're going to play. This is going to be clip 5. Here we go.
Awesome. We're halfway there.
I'll say right out, I ain't no angel either. I had problems and everything, but I took care of them.
My dad, he did have a hard life. He did. And I understand with the things that he did back then. He was a heavy drinker, but he changed all that.
How did you deal with your problems?
Just faced them. Face to face, faced them, yes. And to get through it with counseling and everything else. I had 6 years of counseling. But I got through it. I mean, I was pretty rough. But my kids, they stuck by me and helped me out.
I don't understand how, but after the divorce, he did turn into a lot better dad. I don't know. He's more there. He's more caring. He's more everything.
Okay. Can I make a couple of comments straight off the bat?
Please.
This is what drives my gears. This is where I violently object. Now, think about it. Earl, and God bless him, that he's a new person. His sins are forgiven. But Stephen Avery never had that chance. He never had that chance, right? When he got out of prison, he received no help, as far as I'm aware, no counseling, no advice, nothing. He ran rampant in the Avery salvage yard, yet everything is forgiven. And now Earl is used as a mouthpiece against his own brother. Whereas if he had any semblance of intelligence, Earl wouldn't have opened up his mouth. Earl would have said to the producers of Cam, sorry, not interested, not going to open those cans of worms again, right? And when you look at his record and what he's done, it's shocking and disgusting. Yet, Candy, his wife, wrote a letter to Judge Hazelwood, and we showed it last week, basically begging the judge, look, please, my husband can't stay in jail. The kids, they were too young to understand, right? He didn't know what he was doing. Please send him home. The kids need their father. Whereas Stephen lost everything, lost his wife, lost his family, got completely destroyed, never had a chance to repair those bridges. So to me, it's highly hypocritical for a brother to start pointing a finger at another brother, knowing that they themselves have committed the most mortal of sins against young kids, his own children, and now is a spokesperson on convicting a murderer saying, yep, my brother, he's guilty. Yep, he murdered Teresa Halbach. It would have been more believable if you had comments from other people, not from those who have committed these horrible acts against young kids, including his own children. To me, that seems so hypocritical. when I see someone like Earl doing stuff like that, right? And Candy as well wrote a letter to the judge begging the judge, please release my husband, right? And yet so much angst is thrown towards Stephen when he writes all these horrible letters to his wife, Laurie, to his kids. You could see that Stephen absolutely degraded by being in prison for that long period of time, right? So why can't you have equity? Why can't convicting a murderer show some form of equity to say, hey, listen, Stephen, because of his wrongful conviction, had to pay a price he never should have paid, right? And if he was in prison for those 6 years with Sandra Morris, he may have been released in 2 or 3 under good behavior and under hardship conditions. Hey, look, I've got 5 little toddlers, got 5 little kids. Is it possible that I could be released under supervision? I promise I'll never go near my cousin again. Nothing. So why is it that a show like Convicting a Murderer can show this extreme form of bias whereby one brother is given a free pass? Say what you want. How did you deal with your problems? What did Earl say? I had extensive therapy, 3 to 6 years. His own brother spent 12 additional years for something he never did. Destroyed him. Destroyed everything. His wife, his relationship, the Avery salvage yard, everything. And yet Cam makes no comment. And that's why this case interested me, the greater issues at play here, whereby someone gets released from prison. See ya, you can go home now. And that's it, not provided any form of support. Yet Earl was provided that support. And his own daughter, oh yeah, he's a much better person now. He doesn't drink. And, after the divorce, he's a better father. But none of Stephen's kids were given that opportunity. None. And it goes to show that the system is so badly broken, right? Where one brother can appear in a documentary, point a finger at his own brother and say, yep, he did this and this and this. Yep, he's the murderer. I object to that. I really find that just so hypocritical. And if Stephen didn't murder Teresa Horbach and he eventually gets exonerated, how is he ever going to mend those bridges with his family?
He can never walk that back.
The bridges are burnt completely. What is Earl going to say if Stephen and Brendan are exonerated? Say they're not found to be guilty. What is his own brother going to say and Candy going to say? And anyone who's made these derogatory remarks, you can't. That's why you have to be very, very careful, right? Because it happened to Stephen in 1985, where the sheriff, the DA were telling everybody, we got the right guy. We found our man. And Gregory Allen, who's a vicious rapist, was free for, I think, another 10 years to continue his craft and devastation on Wisconsin women and wherever he went. So it goes to show, just when you think you know the answer, your ass hits the floor. That's why you have to be very, very cautious. It would have been better if Earl just shut his mouth up and said no comment. I would have believed it. Thank you, guys. Sorry for the rant. Any other comments?
We're all good in chat, Doc.
We're all good?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll pop up on chat here on screen. I'll find it. I'll get that last report I talked about from 2018. I don't know when this recording that Earl was talking about had gotten better and seen doctors and so forth and so on. But again, you have to think about date-wise and incident-wise. And I mean, I don't think there were any charges actually brought, but it's still an incident that was reported to the police, and they did investigate. So, yeah, I think it's disingenuous, and I think it's really pretty hypocritical. That's just an opinion. No one should believe what I think. Think whatever you want. I'm not trying to force anybody or lead anybody to believe anything other than what you want. That's not what. This is my opinion. If you want to have your opinion, put it in chat. We'll put it up. We're not afraid of it. You know, everybody's entitled to their own thoughts and opinions.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready for the next clip, Doc?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. This is going to be clip 6.
Yep. Thank you.
Jumping around here a little, did he put limits on who you could see, talk to?
Yes, he did.
I don't want her around you or Candy or anybody of them. Then let her do what she wants to do. Oh, do it, let her do it. No, she ain't gonna do it. She ain't gonna do it. You ain't her boss. You ain't got no control over her. Yeah, I got control.
You couldn't see anybody?
Yeah, I couldn't see anybody. I couldn't talk to my mom.
Do you ever threaten your parents?
He said if I ever left him, he'd burn their house down with them in it. That's why I never left him.
But I was thinking about something. What would Jody do if he got, like, the death penalty?
I don't know. I don't think she really gives a shit.
Yeah.
At least she ain't getting beaten by him no more.
Yeah.
Going from one room to the other. She's just saying he's innocent, so she don't have her fucking hunt down.
Yeah.
Because he's told her many, many times that no matter if I'm in jail or whatever, I'll hunt you down and I'll sit and kill you.
Yeah.
Why do you think they don't want you to talk to us?
Because I can hurt Steven.
By telling the truth?
Yeah.
I sure never heard that on any jail calls.
Well,
Steven telling
no.
Jody he wouldn't hunt her down.
No. And keep in mind here, guys, that these are clips that they've inserted from many different sources. Many. I'm going to say at least 5 sources that they've cobbled together here. So to me it's a bit disingenuous, Doc. Everybody.
But the interesting thing is this: Brendan Dassey was in prison. Is that correct?
That's right.
Now, did you listen to what he just said? Do you think Jody is going to mind or care if Stephen gets the death penalty? Does that sound like a comment for someone who just committed rape and murder of the same person, Teresa Horvath? Does that sound like the comment?
He's talking about somebody else, right? He wasn't involved with it.
When I heard it, I said, Brendan, mate, you're in prison for life for having raped and murdered the same person that you just said is Stephen going to get the death penalty for. He acted as though he wasn't involved at all.
Exactly.
It's the weirdest comment I've ever. What do you think, guys?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. He's talking about some other people that he wasn't involved with. Is exactly where it came from.
Correct. No, it's the response from Brendan was very, very interesting. But you could see there, all jokes aside, the tension between Chuck and Stephen was palpable. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. Do you think Chuck used that for his advantage to try and win Jody?
Well, of course he did.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've got a comment from Darkside about him hitting Jody. Yeah, that was up in Crivets when I think on one occasion when she was drinking and he pissed him off, and he got mad as hell. But again, this is Earl that talks about this. I think. Yeah, he's the one who tells the story. There's a police report that we've got. Everybody knows about it. But the thing is that he talks about it like they didn't do anything. Why not? Why not go over to Steve, push him away, and say, bro, stop what you're doing. You're being an asshole. Just stop.
Earl's a big guy. Earl can knock Stephen out in one hit.
Absolutely.
One hit. Stephen is not a tall guy. And just to answer Dark Side, no. That behavior, you call 911 immediately. You get your brother off the property and in prison. You don't tolerate that crap. And
no.
Again, our aim here is not to defend that scumbaggery activity. You see it, you report it.
Absolutely.
You see it, you report it. You let the proper authorities deal with it. If he deserves to go to jail, back into prison for violence, definitely. No one on this panel would disagree. No one.
And we never have.
Never, ever, ever have. As long as I've been part of Foul Play, Rubber Ducky, or any of the channels I've been involved in, no one has ever defended Stephen's despicable behavior. Right? None.
And we never will.
No, absolutely not. If he had committed all these things, he deserved jail time. No question about it.
Yep. I agree.
Yep. So we're with you, Dark Side, 100%. And none of us are condoning that scumbaggery type of activity, right? You see it, you report it. Very important.
GTM Fangirl, you're True Crime Fangirl. Yeah, we're glad you're here. I know you're experiencing some terrible weather like me, but you're late, so you have to buy the beer this time. I'm sorry, it's just the way it works.
Awesome. Do we have any additional comments on that one?
No, I'm not really seeing anything.
Just my final comment. That also explains some of the hostility and the comments that Stephen was saying. The fact that he didn't want Jody anywhere near his brother, right? So Stephen himself was extremely controlling, but also extremely jealous. And he worked it out. That his brother had a big interest in Jody. Because I think Jody might have even told him, did you remember the case where she went inside the trailer and Chuck was there?
Yeah.
Chuck was there because Chuck knew that his brothers had gone to the auction. So he knew that nobody was home. And Jody found Chuck in the trailer. And Chuck had made advances to Jody. And if you don't believe me, it's all in queso.
And remember, we got the phone calls between Jody and Chuck earlier this year, back in February or March.
Yeah.
Those are really, really interesting. And they explain a lot of information we didn't have and events.
Correct. 100% correct. All right, Jack 61. Shall we continue with the clips?
Clips. Yep. Here we go with clip. Yep. Clip number 7. Here we go.
Awesome.
Fiance Jody Stokowski calls him a monster.
So in Making a Murderer, viewers saw Jody as this very loving and supportive fiance to Stephen. But then less than a month after Making a Murderer premiered, Jody gave an interview to HLM, and people sort of were shocked because it was a completely different story. And I think most of them thought, wait, what's actually going on here? How did she flip? How did she do this complete 180?
She's completely changing her story of who Stephen Avery was and whether or not she thinks he actually committed the crime.
Do you believe Stephen Avery killed Teresa Halbach?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because he threatened to kill me and my family and a friend of mine.
During the Halbach investigation, one of Jody's friends told investigators that Stephen would generally answer the phone whenever she called. On one of those occasions, Stephen told a friend that if she talked to Jody anymore, he would find her and he would kill her. Another question that HLN asked Jodi was, why didn't she just leave Stephen if it was so bad, which is just such a pointedly ridiculous question. I mean, anyone who asks that sort of a question is just not at all familiar with a situation like that. It's never that easy. It's never easy for a victim to come forward or to leave when their entire support system has been cut off.
If you don't have people standing behind you to help you, there's no way you're gonna get out of that family. None. And Jodi didn't have nobody. So it's just the fear of where you're gonna go, how are you gonna hide from them.
Who'd she have to come to after you gave her the freaking black eye? What you talking about? Yeah, what am I talking about? I ain't giving no black eye. No. No. Selling a doorknob. No. Yeah, why'd she call the cops on you? Because you had your fucking hands around her throat. Huh?
Not good. Guys, do we have any comments? Jack 61.
Well, I mean, I think it goes right back to what we just talked about. If that happened, call the fucking cops and have him arrested. He goes to jail. He goes to jail. They present a case. He gets whatever punishment is due. End of story. I mean, that's what it is to me. But again, making this connection with Jodi, because he's pissed off because she's drinking, and him killing Teresa, that's just a leap I can't make. I can't make it.
Susan.
I feel like Stephen is lying there. Okay, he's trying to get out of what happened there, but I think you can hear it in his voice. I don't think Stephen's a good liar.
He's a terrible liar.
To say that he's been lying about all of this all these years, you don't hear that in his voice at all.
No. Look,
there's other instances where he lies to Jodi about Debbie on phone calls, and you can totally hear it in his voice. You can tell when Stephen is lying. And that's another reason that I don't believe he killed Teresa.
Anthony, they used material from Chuck, old clips. He did not appear candidly in Convicting a Murderer.
No, so that could be voiceovers.
Yes.
So in other words, they've got a clip of Chuck walking in another totally different scenario, and they overlay the audio of, say, a phone call.
The jail call, yeah.
And they put two and two together. Correct.
That's right.
But definitely there was a lot of tension there between the brothers, between Stephen and Chuck. And no doubt Stephen was treating Jodi in a terrible, terrible manner. Again, I don't know that's the way Stephen dealt with the way Jodi was always drinking and getting in trouble with the police. But despite that, if you see any evidence of violence, call the police, call the authorities, right? You can't leave it into your own hands. Otherwise, you're going to get convicted as well. Report it. You see it, you report it. Don't let it degrade to such a bad state. Do we have any other comments?
Yeah, there's just something I want to pick up on. State's Advocate put in the chat, why do the cops have to be called? Does it mean it didn't happen if the cops weren't involved? No.
Oh,
No, that's not what we're saying at all. No. But we also know that people lie about this kind of stuff just to get people in trouble. Because they can. There is a woman that's been jailed here for a couple of years because she had falsely accused somebody of assault. So it does happen. What we're saying is something like that happens, it's better to go to the police and report it to the police. That way, there is a record of it. It's not to say that it never happened, but you've also got to think it is. People do lie on these situations.
Well, and again, why didn't Earl and Chuck and Alan? I mean, there were other men around. Go
Yeah.
over there and say, cut it the hell out. Whatever you're doing, whatever your problem is, go cool off and stop. Stop what you're doing
slap
right now.
hard.
There's gonna be problems. You don't do that. TJ asked, was that clip filmed by Demos and Mora? I suspect we don't. I've never seen it. Yeah, I don't know where it came from. I really don't. It could have been anything. It could have been,
I know
Cam.
that it could have even been by law enforcement, because remember they did 2 walkthroughs.
Yeah.
And I know in one of the walkthroughs they actually filmed Chuck Avery. He had to open up his trailer to get in. So it could have been done by law enforcement, because otherwise, why are they filming Chuck for? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Right.
So they spliced together a few things, right? Again, oh no, we're not saying that these events didn't happen. I'm sure they did. I'm pretty well convinced that someone like Jody is not going to lie. But again, you see these things, you either take your brother aside and you tell him straight, or you call the police, you do a report, get Stephen off the property, get him arrested.
That's right.
Stop that behavior. Stop
That's
it
right.
immediately. Don't let it continue.
Like Scooby keeps saying, this is all irrelevant when it comes to Teresa's murder.
It is irrelevant. They're trying to create a pattern. That's what they're doing. They're using these prior incidents going all the way back to 81 or 82 to say, hey, look, he did all this stuff. And we don't disagree. He did some stupid shit. You call it whatever you want, criminal.
Correct.
Show me the crime scene. Show me the frickin' crime scene. Show me where this happened, how it happened. It's certainly not the way Kratz said it.
No way.
So,
I agree with that.
Show me the evidence that he did this.
Here's the trouble. And you can see evolving in chat, and you can see evolving in our podcast by the comments. Oh, well, Stephen did this, then he must be the murderer. That's precisely where Cam is dragging the viewers.
Yeah. Darkside says you have to look at a person's pattern of behavior. It's not murder. His behavior is not murder. I'm sorry.
Correct.
I just want to pick up on something that Scooby has put in chat. She says, at Foul Play, you guys don't have to keep explaining yourselves and apologising for simply stating the truth that the bad behaviour is just irrelevant. Of course, no one condones it. Well, yes, I agree with you, Scooby, but unfortunately we do, because we have people out there that are saying that we do condone things.
Which we don't.
Which we don't. So we do have to, I'm afraid, keep saying this kind of thing, because there is others out there that are saying that we don't. I've seen it on Reddit and everything like that. So unfortunately, it's just something that we keep having to do. We keep having to repeat ourselves on certain things. I wish we didn't have to.
Yeah, we don't like having to do it, but as Alice has said, and even in Convicting a Murderer, they attempt to paint us all with the same paintbrush.
All of us.
It's not the same at all, and I hate it. I really do. I hate repeating all the stuff. I know everyone here does. We don't like having to keep saying the same stuff, but we have to make it clear the division and the dividing line, because then, if we don't, it gets out on Twitter, Facebook. These people that foul play, they're just, they just condone all this stuff. No, we don't.
No.
And so we feel like that for our own protection, we have to do it. I hate it. I know Doc hates it. We all do, but it is what it is.
Correct. Like, for example, if Jody, Marie, or Kayla have brought charges and they were successful and Stephen ended up doing 3-5 years in prison, none of us would have said, oh, gee, that was bad. We would have said, excellent, he deserved it, right?
That's right.
So we do not support that type of behavior. None of us do. None of us whatsoever. All right. Jack 61, we've got a couple more clips to go.
We
can
got
finish.
we got 3 more. We got clip 8 coming up. So
Yeah, let's go for it. Cheers.
Yep.
Teresa's first appointment was at the salvage yard on June 20th of 2005. That's the first time that her and Stephen crossed paths. A couple months go by, and Jody Stokowski went to jail to serve her sentence for an OUI she had received the prior year. She went to jail on the 15th. That was a Monday, and Teresa only works on Mondays.
You know, it's interesting. Teresa Hallback had only visited the Avery at salvage yard once. Suddenly, Stephen starts ramping up these appointments, calling her back over and over again to take pictures of different vehicles. And so, I don't know, I just found that to be quite interesting.
Image number 12, taken on August 22nd.
The very next Monday, that was the second appointment that they had together. The third appointment was a week later, the following Monday. The fourth appointment was September 19th. That appointment was actually a little bit different. Stephen Avery set it up under a different account for Tom Yanda, Barb Yanda's husband at the time, but gave his landline number. When Teresa arrived that day, she first took pictures of the vehicle that Tom Yanda had for sale. But then Stephen Avery asked her if she would take another picture for one of his vehicles.
Is that a true and accurate depiction of image number 15 that's in front of you?
Yes.
And finally, image number 16, taken on October 10th, 2005 at Stephen Avery's residence.
The day before that, Stephen and his sister Barb ended up purchasing some leg irons and handcuffs and some furry covers from just an adult store. These are not industrial strings, they're not what the cops use. Leg irons and handcuffs.
Doc, this clip is a little over the limit, so I'm going to break it into 2 sections.
Okay.
And so let's do that now.
Okay. So, does anyone have a comment on what you've seen so far?
I got a comment about the leg irons and handcuffs. They did add in, these are not what the cops use. These are novelty, punk metal, pieces of shit, sex toys, okay? And they made such a deal out of it. Go ahead, Susan.
I want to know what happened to the leopard fur or whatever it was that was on Stephen's cuffs.
No,
it wasn't on him in court.
They're probably in Kratz's personal collection.
Probably. They were furry cuffs.
Correct.
You see on the receipt that he bought, what he bought.
Correct.
And they were toys.
Yes, they were.
They weren't real cuffs.
But notice how the mood of the program has suddenly changed.
So why didn't he murder her on the 10th or whatever? He had the cuffs.
Correct. But notice how now Convicting a Murderer spent 3/4 of the episode showing how nefarious Stephen's activities were, which is correct. And now the focus is on Teresa Hallback. And it's interesting how Brenda detailed every time Stephen called Teresa to come out and take a photograph, right? Now, Teresa could only come out on a Monday. So when else could she come out? And correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but was Teresa Hallback the only representative from Auto Trader who worked that area where the Avery salvage yard was?
Yes, that's right. When Kathy Williford quit, Teresa she already had 2 territories. She took on Manitowoc after that. It was hers. So she was the only one, the only photographer for Auto Trader for that area.
Right. So was it actually nefarious that Stephen phoned the only person who could come out and take photos from Auto Trader
I mean, to me, it's not. She's the one that did it. I mean, why would he think of
I think
anyone
he
else?
said, "Hey, can you send that girl out here to take a picture?"
Yeah,
Not, "Can you send Teresa Hallbach here to take a picture?" Or that
correct.
same girl. I
Right.
think he just said, "Can you send that girl out here?"
So was that potentially nefarious? Did Stephen have nefarious intentions by asking Teresa Hallbach, that girl, to come and take photographs of him?
I
Alice.
don't think. I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
No, Doc, I don't think there's anything nefarious in it at all. And this might lead, what we're just about to talk about might lead into Kelly's question. She says, Candice Owens states Stephen called Teresa over and over again. I thought he called her once to take pics of Barb's car after Teresa had been there once before. No, Teresa 4 or 5 times before the 31st, taking pictures and things like that for Stephen. That's why, to me, that phone call that he made on the 31st to come and take the pictures is not nefarious. He's asking for the same lassie that came out the last time, that took the pictures the last time. That's it. Period. Nothing nefarious, nothing luring, nothing, I don't know what other word to say. But in my opinion, no, there is nothing to that phone call, Doc. And even the star 67, I mean, that pisses me off and all, because years ago, you used to hide your number. Christ, I even did it, but our number was star 1471 or something like that, and you could hide your number and stuff like that, because a lot of people had caller ID, and if you didn't want them having your number, then that's what you would do. But I mean, the amount of things that Stephen might have been getting phone calls for press and everything like that all the time, we don't know. But I don't find that nefarious either,
Yep. Thank you, Alice. Jack 61.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're talking about the star 67. She didn't. The first call, she didn't answer. It was short, and the second call didn't even connect to her number.
Right.
So it's a ridiculous thing to me. There's no connection whatsoever.
But it's circumstantial at best.
At best. But calling him saying, hey, can you send that girl back out here, the same girl back out here, take a couple of photos? I don't think it's nefarious, but you can twist it that way, so, sure.
Yes, but notice what Brenda did and Candace, right? So Stephen calls for someone to come and take photographs, and of course Teresa Hallbach just happened to be doing that particular shift and servicing that particular area. So it's only Teresa Hallbach that goes out in that area to take the photographs of Auto Trader magazine. Stephen places ads in Auto Trader magazines in order to sell the vehicles, right? But notice how Brenda and Candace now connected Stephen calling Teresa to come and take photographs with the purchasing of handcuffs and leg irons.
That's right. And then he, she comes out to take the photo of whatever that other person he called them to take the photo of, and then he wants her to do a hustle shot, which for Teresa, she makes a shit ton more money doing a hustle.
Yep.
A lot of money.
Correct. And mind you, Stephen went with his sister Barb to the adult shop, and she bought a set of leg irons with I think the pink fluffy things on it. So how let's think about this, right? You're a criminal mastermind, and you're targeting Teresa Hallbach. Let's just say Stephen did it. Do you bring your sister with you to an adult shop and say, hey sis, I think we better buy a pair of leg irons and handcuffs? Yeah, why not? Why not?
Right.
Just if you're going to do something nefarious, don't you think you want to be incognito about it and not leave an easy paper trail?
Oh
right?
My God, yes.
Because they went to the adult shop and they got the receipt. Oh yeah, this lady was here, this guy was here, they bought these items here. So they're leaving paper trails. And I think, as Susan said, they were toys. They're not the genuine deal. But here's, and we'll see part 2 of it. When they did forensic analysis of the leg irons and handcuffs, the only DNA they found was Stephen's, right? Now, if Teresa Hallbach, according to Brendan, was chained up in the cuffs and the leg irons, how can Stephen selectively remove Teresa Hallbach's DNA or skin cells or blood or whatever being held up by these novelty items? You can't, which proves that Teresa Hallbach was never hooked up to Stephen's bed in leg irons and shackles. None of her DNA is there. None of the blood is there. No skin cells, nothing, including no indentations on the bedposts. So wait a minute. So Stephen buys these novelty toys. He said he was wanting to use them on Jodie when she got out of prison. Hey, I'm not that I've bought any, and that's a promise, but I'm sure millions of these items got sold per year around the world. But notice how they now drag that in with Stephen purchasing them. Why? Because they've got an agenda. So
Well-
Stephen calls Teresa to take photographs, buys leg irons. They're putting 2 and 2 together.
And remember in 2006, they went after Jodie a number of times. She finally wrote and said, look, just stop bothering me. Leave me alone. I don't know anything. I wasn't there. Moving on, Jodie called because they had seized a number of items of hers. This was in August, late July or August, whatever. And Uyghur Fassbender go and find her at this hotel. She doesn't really want to talk to him without her lawyer. So that moves them in, a couple of weeks later. But ultimately, what I'm getting at, they interviewed her a number of times. And we've got the recordings, got those earlier this year as well. And those are very interesting as well because they reveal them talking about her and Stephen, having sex or whatever, and her being tied up, chained up, whatever. And they wanted her to say, well, she couldn't get loose. And she says, oh, no, I could, get my hands, slip out of it anytime I wanted. She would never, ever say, yeah, he was, he's going to bind me up and I can't get loose. Trying to make this connection. Again, same shit, different scenario, but still it was with Jodie. But it's the same thing you're talking about, Doc.
You're 100% correct. And again, this is the danger of a program like Convicting a Murderer. Let's get this piece of information. Let's throw in this piece of information. We'll smack them together and come up with a narrative.
That's right.
And that is totally dishonest. Why? Because you'll see little snippets. Boom, boom, boom. Factoid, factoid, factoid. Truth. And that's the danger. So
it's disingenuous. It's disingenuous to me, Doc.
Whereas Ma'am never did that. Ma'am didn't have a narrator steering you in a particular direction.
That's
Here,
right.
we've got 2 of them. Shall
At
we
least
continue?
2. Yeah, I want to answer this question right quick before we go. It's from Ian. Hello, Ian. And I want to say hello to Jamie Hart, too. What are you doing, License Plate, man? Good to see you. I think it's plausible to hide your phone number when calling to advertise someone else's car. I would, because you wouldn't want them putting the number on an ad and getting all those calls. And that is possible, certainly with certain companies. But, what I would really like to see, personally, is a history of Stephen Avery's calls to see when and how often he used Star 67, because I'm sure he was getting calls. And he would call, probably get called back or potentially get called back. He was probably getting, certainly at some point, a lot of press, a lot of different people calling him to try to get a hold of him. So, anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, let's play the rest of. Let's continue on with this clip here. Let me scroll down here. We were on clip 8, so it's going to pick up where we left off. Here we go.
Awesome.
From his trailer, he says were for harmless sexual play with his fiancée. You said those handcuffs and leg irons were for your girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
My sister bought some too.
Right. That's what I thought I'd heard you say. But when did you buy those?
I don't remember.
Can you stop
Probably talk to my sister. She probably knows the date.
Can you stop?
Yeah.
Notice that's Stephen. That's his ability to not remember events. You notice he paused. He had no idea. Ask my sister, she would know. So remember when Fassbender and Wiegert and Skalinski and everybody were questioning him, and he would pause. A lot of people thought it was deception.
I think he's got a terrible memory. I think he's got a shit memory, Doc.
He cannot. If you rewind that and hear the question again, he paused. He's got no idea where he got them from. You want to rewind that a little bit? That's him. That is Stephen.
Yep.
And
go through it again.
Something nefarious he did. He went to a shop and he bought them with his sister.
Right. Like, it's just such a ridiculous premise that he's going to go buy this stuff with the intention of pinning Teresa up. And you do it with someone and you leave a paper trail with Auto Trader. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
All right, here we go. I'm going to back up a bit.
Yep.
Your girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
My sister bought some too.
Right. That's what I thought I'd heard you say. But when did you buy those?
I don't remember.
There you go, right there. He had to think about it. I just think his memory is terrible.
That's him, and he is consistent. When someone asks him a question, anything nefarious, he hesitates, goes, and then he will answer. He did the same thing there to Anjanette.
And I'm not, trying to justify anything or anyone. I'm going to make a statement here, but as someone that was in a supervisory role and was, had contact with probably thousands of people over my career, there are people that have a really detailed and sharp memory, and they can pinpoint. But there are others, they can't remember what they did 20 minutes ago. It doesn't stick. I ran across that in my life many times. Just say.
Yep. I told you about my friend and my work colleague who wrote everything down.
Yes.
So you can imagine if Stephen got his little notepad out.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh yeah, on October the 2nd at 4 o'clock, I went with my sister and we went to whatever shop and we bought the items." No.
Well, he's someone that needed to do that because his memory's so terrible.
It's shocking.
I think I have a pretty good memory usually, but like for my job, I have to keep times. Like, I spent 10 minutes doing this and a half hour doing that. And sometimes I have to go back to my email or my Google, Maps, how they have that location data on you, and to see what I did on certain days and when I did it, So I don't think that, sinister not to remember.
Correct.
I agree. All right.
Yep.
Shall we continue, Doc?
Yes, please.
All right. Here we go. We'll finish this clip up.
Probably talk to my sister. She probably knows the date.
Did you ever try them on or anything, or?
Yeah. But they were brand new, Yeah, my daughter, when she came out, she looked at them.
So they had been used and stuff.
Well, no, not really. They've been on, but they ain't been maybe for a second or whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was really weird when he said that his daughter had seen the handcuffs because it just seemed like that's not something you should show your daughter.
October 10th, Stephen asked Teresa to come for a hustle shot. He calls her directly.
There you
go. Which is really bizarre, right? Because Barb just had him hanging on her wardrobe where the boys can just walk in.
That's right. I don't. I mean, a novelty toy. I mean, his daughter wasn't a child, so I don't. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a little weird, but
A lot of people are not sexually inhibited like
that's right.
many are.
Yeah.
And obviously that family was not at all.
Oh. Well,
So
a lot
I
of
don't
country
find-
people, a lot of country folks are that way. You know, they're pretty open, and you know, they just they're very straightforward in the way they live their life, and you know, so.
Yeah, I don't think it's weird at all. I mean, that they were testing out how the handcuffs work or whatever. I recall having some novelty handcuffs when I was in grade school, and I remember putting them on everyone and having everyone test them out. So, I mean, I think it sounds worse than it may have really been.
Well, you started young, Kay.
I know.
I knew it was going to degrade really quick, but the factor is, if you're driving a narrative, you got to make it all fit, right? And Jeanette was putting two and two together. Oh, did you try them on? What, you showed them to your daughter? Ooh. So there's the agenda there. Instead of being a novelty toy, right, which he was legally able to buy them. No, in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Tom Fallon display them in court in front of Brendan, and Brendan did not react at all. He never reacted to them at all.
Yeah.
He showed them.
Yeah.
He showed.
Yeah. That's
Correct. Right. So, what do you guys make of this? What Convicting a Murderer was trying to do here? What do you think that?
Well, they're trying to show him as a sexual deviant. The Kratzes wouldn't show him as a sexual deviant. That's what his goal was.
In other words,
and that he planned this for quite some time.
He planned it.
Yeah.
He planned it for some time. Right? Now, remember, we read Ken Kratz's book. Ken Kratz, in his book, said Stephen planned this every day he was in prison.
That's right.
Every day he was in prison, he planned it.
There was even a rumor, if I remember, Doc, that allegedly Stephen had drawings of a dungeon.
Danger.
And I even argued with someone that said that Stephen had a basement in his trailer, and that's not true at all. No. Barb's double wide had the basement.
Correct.
That is true.
Correct. 100% correct. No, there was no torture chamber. No. Do we have any other comments, guys?
I've been trying to kind of follow along here. I'm not seeing really any questions. Maybe the mods have. Susan, anyone? Or we just kind of conversation?
No, there's a lot of good conversation happening in chat. Just keep us civil, guys. Keep us civil.
Yeah.
Not questions, so.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got 2 more clips to go.
We've got a comment from Mr. President. Was Kratz using the media as an investigative arm of the prosecution the way he accused ma'am filmmakers being an investigative arm of the defense? An accusation from a narcissist is an admission. Well, I can't disagree with that, Mr. President. Yeah, you know, this whole thing, and I'll just say this briefly, this whole thing of what Kratz tried to do with the filmmakers, because they were going to go talk to someone and then turn that into the lawyers. He tried to make that a big deal so he could take their footage away from them. And of course,
yes,
the judge threw it out on its ass where it belonged. It was trash. He just wanted them to stop. He didn't want this stuff documented at all. So,
no.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, to me, there were some questions in the press conference, but to me, the only, well, there was kind of 2. Aaron Keller, I think, was questioning all the things, but Fack is the one that really had real problems with what was going on, and he did investigate deeply. So, anyone else?
No, I think we're doing well.
We're good.
We've got 2 more clips to go. Let's do it.
We do. All right, here we go. We are at clip number 9.
Just told somebody else.
Which is
a little freaked out, and she kind of stepped back, and he looked at her and he said, "Don't worry, someday you'll get this." And we all kind of looked at her like, what do you mean that's what he said?
She had explained to a friend that he had made some kind of reference to a display on his wall that had some phone numbers and some pictures of other women, and indicated that she too would someday be on that wall.
I'm sorry, Doc. I have to stop it here.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Has anyone, and I mean anyone out there in the world, ever seen any photos, and you know they would have taken photos of this?
Yeah.
You know law enforcement would have captured that on film, maybe even video. Has anyone got one iota of proof of what he's trying to sell here to the audience? Anyone? Promise I won't judge you. Promise we'll share your work and give you credit.
Yeah, I've never seen it, and they did the,
why would Sean allow this? I don't understand.
because it's salacious, right?
True.
And
True.
so if you're building up a narrative, basically what he's saying is that you're going to join the club of all the all my trophies, my potential trophies, and you're being serious for a minute. Remember what Fassbender and Wiegert said to Brendan? I heard you took photographs of her, Teresa Hallbach.
Yes.
And isn't that interesting that now we have this comment that one day you're going to be on the wall? So you put two and two together, and remember the reporting case in which there were rumors circulating around Brendan's school with photographs of Teresa Hallbach.
That's right. And remember, Doc, not to interrupt you, but this was almost a year later when Wiegert all of a sudden had to have that camera of Avery. Well, that actually belonged to Jody at that point. She said, yeah, and remember, they talked to her about that camera too.
Correct.
I think it's completely possible that this was one of Teresa's other clients that she was talking about.
That's possible. It's entirely
friend.
possible. Yeah, it's entirely possible. And they've did a little flippity flop here. It's possible. I've never seen any.
Tom Pierce.
Yes.
Said
yes.
Before Teresa ever met Stephen, I think that one of her clients asked her to come in and have a drink and was leering at her, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it could have been someone else.
Correct.
Anthony Hills in chat. Anthony, sorry, I scrolled up to try and find your question, but I couldn't find it, so I'm glad you reposted it. So, question: Stephen said to law enforcement at Crivets, Barb came home and reported the deer hit. Bobby testified in 2017 he saw it get hit. Who's lying?
Yes, that's correct. He did say that he actually saw the deer being hit.
That whole deer thing is almost like the barrel mystery to me. There's so many stories about it.
Yes, correct. And my understanding, that deer was hit very close to Mickle's Quarry. That road near Mickle's Quarry, which is very interesting because Mickle's Quarry was a lot of activity there.
You mean 147?
Yes, 147.
Yeah, and what confuses and makes the situation, well, I should say, what makes the situation a bit more confusing is on that day, there were 2 deer strikes in Manitowoc. There was another one.
Yeah.
Because we've got the incident reports.
Yeah. But you could be right. They could have transposed hearsay and transposed it onto Stephen. Because remember, there was that mistake where they were talking about Stephen when they rang up Scott Blowdorn, rang up all the numbers that were on the phone, and they spoke to a Stephen. It wasn't Stephen Avery, it was Stephen Schmidt. They got the wrong.
That's right.
Stephen. They got the wrong.
And even Nancy Grace put that in the forward of Kraft's shitty book, and it's wrong.
That's correct.
And Schmitz called Auto Trader and said she didn't show up, and they blamed that on Stephen for a long time.
Correct. So, Stephen
And also,
didn't.
the bus driver
The bus
saying
driver.
she saw Teresa that day.
Correct,
Another
and
one.
that was wrong.
Yeah.
So because this was hearsay, it never made the courts. Shall we continue playing the clip?
Yes, we will. Let's pick it up. I'll back it up just a tick, and we'll continue on because this blows me away. That's all I got to say. I'll back it up a little bit, and we'll move on.
That had some phone numbers and some pictures of other women and indicated that she too would someday be on that wall, as if he was laying claim to her. And this caused her enough discomfort that she mentioned it to her friends.
She goes, I don't think I want to go back there. And I do remember us all telling her, then don't go back there. I don't think she would have felt threatened by it. Uncomfortable, yes, but threatened, no. I was never interviewed by police. It was bar talk. It was friends talking. It was hearsay. I had no proof that she said it. I had no proof.
Somebody else.
Oh crap! I went too far. Yeah, I stopped it. I'll move it back.
But notice what she said. It was hearsay.
Yes.
Yet, Cam put it in.
That's right.
So if you're the casual viewer and you have no idea of the background or story, you're going, oh my God, Stephen Avery had a wall of all these victims and phone numbers, and Teresa was next.
Right. She had an appointment going out there. And they were like saying, well, look, let's don't go. It's completely manipulative.
Yep.
Completely.
If Teresa felt threatened in any way, do you think having your life threatened is worth $40?
Hell no. She didn't have to go. They were independent operators. And if you look at her contract and her employment stuff that we do have as well, it talks about this kind of stuff.
Correct.
And she wasn't making $40. She was making like $8 or something.
Well, yeah, on a call-in, it was the hustle shot she made, like, I don't know, $20 or
20,
it was
yeah.
I think it was like $20 she made. It was a lot more than the standard call-in.
Correct. Okay, shall we continue?
Yep, let's finish it up. All right, here we go.
Proof that really did happen. I'm just telling you this is what my friend told me one night in a bar.
Teresa's gut told her that there was something off about Stephen Avery, and she told this to a friend. I so wish that she had followed her gut instinct.
Yeah, that's just simply crazy.
I can't stand Candace Owens. I can't stand her.
God, I can't deal with that bitch.
Yep, but guys, in all seriousness, how dangerous is it to make speculative arguments with no proof?
Well, that's the thing we've been talking about here the entire time. When you do that, we can get on here and speculate, and I don't mind doing that a little bit. But now when you start making accusations, and I'm going to bring this up, I'm going to be very short, I promise. But this led to another huge problem that I ran into, and you guys will remember. There were a couple of ladies that were connected to Chuck that openly accused Chuck of rape. Openly. They did it a number of times. And these are people in the truther community. I already had the reports. We had the reports on Chuck. I knew he's a bad dude. Okay? I don't have a problem with people talking about that. But to openly accuse someone of that in a social media function, I just simply sent a couple of DMs. I'm like, you guys really need to be careful about what you're saying and accusing someone of, because it can lead you to some real legal problems.
Yes.
Well, I got attacked.
Oh, no.
Well, yeah, that's when I got my daughter that passed away thrown in my face. How would you feel if it was your daughter talking about Caitlin? And I was completely blown away by that. Me just trying to offer some free, take it or leave it advice. because they thought I was somehow now I'm against them. I'm not against you, dumbass. Come on.
Correct.
So again, the danger of just accusing someone when you don't have any proof, man, it can cause a lot of problems. A lot of problems.
I can easily see a scenario where they are in a bar talking, drinking. Maybe it's loud. You know, she tells her about Stephen and the towel and then goes on to tell her about somebody else that had these pictures on their wall. I mean, maybe she didn't hear the other name. Maybe after all this went down with Stephen, she's thinking back and
Maybe she had a couple.
misremembering
Maybe she had a
exactly
couple
what
beers in.
happened.
Maybe she had a couple of
Yeah.
beers in her, and right.
Exactly. So
But that's a danger of rumors and innuendo, right? That's exactly how people get into mega trouble. And you're correct, because Tom Pierce said that story to Teresa Hochbach. Be careful, because I heard that some clients were asking her to come in, offer her a drink. I don't think was Stephen a drinker. I don't think I know he drank a lot of Mountain Dew. I don't think
No.
alcohol was one of them.
He didn't drink a lot of beer or hard liquor from anything that I can find. A little bit occasionally, like a light social drinker, but he didn't really drink. And I think as him and Jody's relationship went forward, him knowing that she had a real problem with alcohol, I think he probably intentionally didn't do it in front of her.
Correct. Yeah. Guys, do we have any other comments? All right. Our last clip. We've made it, guys. Our last clip.
Yeah, I was kind of looking through. I don't see anything. Mods, any other comments or questions we need to get to before we play this last clip?
Now, Jack 61, if I could just make the quick comment.
Yeah.
The reason why I chose this clip is that I want you to have a look at the way this clip was constructed. And the reason why I say it is keep in mind what Colburn charged Netflix of doing with Ma'am.
If you need me to stop it at any place, Doc, let me know, and I'll cut it off and we can continue talk about it and continue.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Let's have a look at our last clip. Thank you,
All right.
guys.
Here we go.
Cheers.
Clip 10.
Around with Steve almost every day. I almost lived with him. Helped him put engines in Ford Torinos. We'd go burn the tires off of it, and blow it up and pull it out and put another one in. And when he got out in 03 there or whatever year it was, I helped him out and we hung around. Even when we went to the auction after this happened, it's like he wasn't a different person. I mean, he wasn't acting weird then.
Do you ever mention the girl from the Auto Trader before that happened?
Not really, no.
Did your family ever have private
music? Notice the ramping spooky music.
Started low. I was actually going to, let me back that up a little bit. I did notice it.
Yep, and watch the sudden question to Earl and then the boom, immediate shut off. Watch.
Not really, no.
Did your family ever have private conversations after Stephen was found guilty? I mean, did anybody have a real frank conversation? Say, look, he might have done it.
No.
Do you believe your brother's guilty?
Now, can you just stop for a second?
Yeah.
How many times was Ma'am accused of doing a cliffhanger ending so that you can watch the next episode? What the hell just did Cam do?
I'm gonna make comments. I got to step away for a couple minutes while you guys talk. I'll make my only comment here. Anyone that followed us or did it on their own, the Colburn v. Netflix case, and read through the thousands of pages, it was episode after episode. They were accusing the filmmakers of all this, treacherous music and danger music and lead up, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy. I'm going to step away for a minute. You guys continue. I'll be right back.
You play that?
Yeah.
You
Complete with
sorry, Susan.
cliffhangers. Complete with cliffhangers, like we
Yeah.
just saw.
And what's wrong with all that anyway?
There's
I mean,
no,
seriously.
there's nothing
These
because
are
it's it's
nothing.
part entertainment. Go ahead, Kay.
That's why he lost his lawsuit.
for-profit. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to continue playing the clip while I step away, Doc?
Yeah. Let's continue.
All right, here we go.
Coming up on Convicting a Murderer. What would be the upside for this man? I mean, he just got out of prison. He has this new lease on life. What would be the motive for something like this?
We're talking about somebody with unexplainable, impulsive behavior, a pattern of violence and aggression.
There were a lot of coincidences on the day that Teresa Halbach was killed, and Making a Murderer either completely omitted them or only presented half of the story. Stephen Avery leaves work and doesn't tell his brothers.
He'd never used his sister's phone number to book an appointment before.
Stephen Avery makes 2 phone calls to Teresa's phone. Why is he blocking his caller ID?
I don't think Teresa liked Stephen the way Stephen wanted her to like him.
Guys, do we have any comments? Katie.
Well, I mean, how many cars had Barbara sold to have a listing under her name? Had she sold
No
multiple
others.
cars?
No, I think there
Her
was
husband did.
Yep.
Yeah, but that
Tom
wasn't him
Yonda did,
selling
but-
that. Right, but this was her selling this van. And
Yep.
then prior situation, I mean, it seems like the names are put under whose vehicle it is. That's what I would do if I was scheduling an appointment. And who you want the bill made out to. I mean, she paid for that.
And
So,
who you want them to call in order to ask about the vehicle
The vehicle.
Yeah.
Correct.
and deal with. He obviously
it's-
wanted Barb to deal with the sale of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, those are just the situation where, you can, if you decide that Stephen is guilty, you can look at it one way. If you decide that Stephen is innocent, you can view it a different way. And I don't know, I guess whatever weight those kind of things gives to someone and makes it add up to be that he's a murderer. I mean, in my life experience, being involved with domestic violence and being involved as an advocate for domestic violence and then wrongful false allegations and wrongful conviction. I mean, I can't get to the facts of a murder conviction for Stephen based upon these previous bad acts. It doesn't. There are so many other variables that you have to consider, I think, with this whole thing. I kind of got off track there, and I feel like I'm doing my closing remarks right now. But instead of talking about that very last clip, but so be it. Like when you look at Stephen's interaction with a 17-year-old, I feel like a lot of these family members not only have a lower IQ than people who are in a 4-year college program or whatever. Their lives is very different. It's very different. Their emotional growth could be very different too. So there are just too many different variables that you could just apply to every single situation in this case. But none of these things make me feel like Stephen is a murderer. The facts don't point to that. And these things that are proven or unproven for me, they don't make this a situation where things escalated, his criminal activity and his violent behavior and blah, 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 escalated into murder. I'm sorry. I can't get there. That's all.
But you make a really good point. But you got to piggyback that. You got to piggyback that with Brendan Dassey, right? Now, you may have a case against Stephen because Stephen has done these nefarious activities towards women, right? But Brendan Dassey comes out from the cold, as in from literally zero issues with anybody, law enforcement, his teachers, his brothers. He's a shy kid. He's a loner. Now, you trying to tell me that he now graduates from being a passive, shy kid to a rapist and a murderer.
Mm-hmm. All at the timing of when he gets folded into the case too. So, I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Exactly, Doc.
Correct. You might see this is the duplicity and complexity of the case that makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
You're having this narrative whereby you're saying, look at Stephen, look what he's doing. Look what he's doing. Oh, he's a killer. Then you factor in Brendan Dassey and you go, how the hell was Brendan Dassey able to be convinced by his uncle to participate in rape of a 25-year-old woman, shooting 10 times, they forgot to mention dismemberment and cremation and get rid of her RAV. And then the kid goes to bed normal, no one detects anything, and he goes to school the next day, no one detects anything. So how does a shy young kid who's never been in trouble somehow is coerced to graduating to rape 101 and murder 101 in the spate of him returning home from school?
He also
no prior history. Susan,
after he rapes Teresa, he goes
home.
home. His mother and his brothers are there. They detect nothing. No. That's impossible to me.
It is impossible. I'm sorry. It is impossible.
Well,
right?
someone like Brendan, absolutely.
You can't hide that type of horrific experience. And then to go back and to get rid of Teresa Horbach's body in the most brutal manner, I don't buy that. And you see, that's where the narrative of Cam falls apart. And that's why Candace said, one of the saddest figures that Mam introduced was Brendan. You know why? Because they don't have an answer. They can't put it in their head. They can't work it out. So what do, guys? Big bad Uncle Stephen coerced his nephew. Are you kidding me now? That's the only way they could sort it.
Well, and another thing about that, this setting up the appointment, now, Kratz got onto this luring theory.
Luring, correct.
And for someone like Kratz and his clear problems with women, and this is documented. It's not me just making shit up. It's documented, a history of problems from his mind and maybe from his playbook. That's one way how you get a girl. I don't know any other way that it can come about. Say whatever, the paper trail was clear and it led back to Stephen. Doesn't matter what number he gave. It was Bart's van. I agree with what Kay said. You don't put your name on somebody else's property to sell. I wouldn't. So this whole luring theory, it to kind of take form and shape. As for Brendan, you can look at this background picture that I've got up right here. Now, you would expect to see that sometime during the week of November 5th through the 12th. But this didn't happen until March 2nd, 2006.
What did Kratz say? We now know what to look for.
Exactly right. And they found nothing in the trailer.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
They now know what to look for.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, wait a minute, these guys have been in there 7 to 8 times. They now know what to look for. That to me is scary.
And found nothing in the trailer. Not a damn thing.
Correct. So we won't talk about it because, we'll spend another hour on it. The problem the state did, and I firmly believe this, the problem with the state is they went with the narrative that Brendan Dassey gave them, right? So they went with that narrative, but forensically, they couldn't prove the narrative. So what did they do? They did 2 trials. They did the trial with Stephen without Brendan Dassey, except they included Ida Miffel and the Hoodlad swab.
That's right.
Then they did the trial with Brendan on words only. On just words.
Drug in everything from Stephen's trial.
Correct. Yep, correct. So that's how they did it, because they knew, Kratz knew, if they put Stephen and Brendan together on the stand, the whole thing would have fallen apart.
Well, sure. You give Buting and Strang a chance to cross-examine Brendan. Oh boy, go ahead, Alice.
Brendan would have said, "I made it all up.
Yeah,
it's all crap."
Yeah, I'm just wondering, do we know what time it was that Ma took the mail up to Stephen?
I think
4:30.
Like yep, his mother brought him the mail.
After Teresa turned up, when this brutal murder and everything like that was going on, chopping up a body, but yet Ma seen nothing, heard nothing. I'm sure if she walked into something like that, she would have been like, what the bloody hell is going on, and phoned the police herself.
But it's worse than that. According to Brendan, Teresa never had anything over her mouth, so she could scream. And what did Kratz say? That Brendan heard the screaming. That discarded trailer that was halfway up the gravel road. Brendan was able to hear Teresa screaming from there. And you think to yourself, this can't be right. You pin up a woman on a bed for the intentions of terrible, terrible activity, and you don't put a gag over the person's mouth?
Yeah.
No.
It's just, the luring thing and that and all, that's just nonsense. In my opinion, it's nonsense. You know what I mean? If he was that much a deviant and everything like that, he could have done it any other time that Teresa was on that property. Any one of the other 5 or 6 times that she was on that property. Why did he just wait until that day? That's it. Nobody can point me to a motive.
There isn't one.
Now, for somebody to be sentenced to life in prison, there's supposed to be what is it? Means, motive, and opportunity. That is the some of the 3 major cruxes that you're supposed to prove for a murder conviction.
Anybody could have been walking around. Anybody could have been walking around looking at, some car near the trailer if she was actually pinned up in there screaming and heard her, right?
Well, you would think, Jack. You would think.
But you know where the problem lies. The problem lies, and Jack 61 mentioned it many, many times, the blunt and bloody object that was found in the back of the RAV, and the fact that Teresa's blood is on the back door of her own RAV4 when it was opened at 90 degrees, which meant that Teresa was bashed behind her own RAV4 with the door open at 90 degrees. Why? Because the droplets of blood hit at 90 degrees and went down by gravity, which means that the state's narrative is completely wrong, which means that Teresa was outside of her own RAV4 at the back and got bashed and bludgeoned, likely by that blunt and bloody object that nobody knows where it is.
Well, it disappeared at the crime lab. It's so bad.
Right? So consider this. How do you bash someone senseless with a heavy object and then pin him up to a bed. No one sees anything. There's blood that's been shed and no cadaver dog detects it, because a cadaver dog went all around Stephen's trailer and the red van. No alerts. So how does someone shed blood and then Brendan Dassey never says, I noticed blood on her head? You know why? Because Brendan never saw Teresa Hallbach.
That's right.
Yeah.
And these fucking idiots know that. I'm sorry for swearing. They know that Brendan's narrative is all garbage. So what did Kratz have to push? Teresa Hallbach was thrown in the back of her RAV.
That's right.
Except blood droplets did not go that way. They went down.
That's right.
They went down. The entire narrative is wrong. Brendan Dassey is in prison for life for something he never did.
Yep.
Whoever attacked Teresa bashed her at the back of her own RAV. What did Bobby Dassey say? I never saw Teresa with Stephen at a RAV4. So how in the hell does this bashing event take place? And how does Stephen then bring Teresa Hallbach to his bedroom without any drops of blood anywhere that no dog detects? And Brendan never said, when I was raping Teresa Hallbach, there was blood all over the bed head, all over the pillow. Nothing. Zero.
Hey, Doc, I'd like to read out this comment from Nan's Life. What we're talking about. Cam was only about bashing ma'am. Nothing to do with the actual case. It was an easy bashing session with hopes that they can control their narrative. Well, yes, I agree. They really got into the man bashing starting probably in episode 4 and onwards. I mean, they did it. There was elements of that because of the whitewashing of Stephen in Making a Murderer. They didn't show everything. They could have shown more. They could have shown more about the state too. Let's be fair. It couldn't. So they chose what they chose, and those of us who were interested in knowing more did so. We made an effort to get documentation.
But they did actually bring the case into it and covered all of the shady stuff and made excuses for it, or tried to explain away why this, why there were no photos, why the coroner didn't come, how Andy wrote on his knee. Yeah, they did. They brought the case into it and backed up law enforcement.
Yeah.
Correct.
With all of their explanations.
Correct. But Susan, why not spend 10 episodes? Right. We're going to show you the forensic evidence. We're going to reproduce what Stephen and Brendan did. You know why?
I know.
Because they can't.
It doesn't make sense. Exactly.
They can't. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And months ago, you asked the best question that my brain still can't comprehend. Why didn't they make Cuss Road work? Because if you said to me, Stephen knocked her out and took her to Cuss Road, I'll say, shit. Wow.
It would be more believable, wouldn't it?
I would think,
that she's not right in his backyard.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He took her away. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to counteract that? That's brilliant. But I don't want to talk about Cuss Road because then how are you going to include Brendan? You can't. So
That's
Brendan is saying lie after lie after lie, and they have to go, Brendan, mate, it didn't happen that way. See you later. Go to your mum. No, they had to hook him in. So if Stephen did this and took her to Cuss Road, then you'll have to ask yourself, why did he then bring her back to his place? Why and where did he chop her up? Where did he dismember her? where did he have the opportunity to burn her? And how did he get the RAV all the way back in the corner and nobody saw a damn thing? So Cuss Road doesn't work either, right?
Well, what
It
did they
doesn't make-
find? That they won't release the photographs of the area that were they won't give them to us to what they were doing on the ground. We can't get them.
No. So
I
what
wanna
does
add-
Cam do? Sorry.
No, go ahead, and I'll give my comment.
My final comment is, what does Cam do? They got nothing. So they have to dehumanize Stephen, bring up the narrative, and hope to God that you see the two streams and connect them together. The murder, Stephen's bad activity, put them together, see you later, done, our job is done. But when you look at the forensic evidence, the whole thing falls apart. Nothing makes sense.
You know,
Well,
it's funny because I truly think that the people that were truthers that are now believe that he's guilty or they're guilty or whatever, I don't think they even believe the state scenario. But
you can't.
But that's what you're stuck with.
Yeah.
That's what's in the
Exactly.
league.
But
That's what you're. Go ahead.
I mean, you got to prove these guys did this or they should not be in prison.
Yeah.
You
Correct.
can't just go on emotion because you think the guy is such a bad guy that he's capable of it. It doesn't
Correct.
mean he did it. You got to
Correct.
prove it, and it's just not there. The evidence is not there.
Correct. What we've been talking the same thing for 4 years. 4 years. I've had a staff member. I've had mods flip, and we're going, guys, what did they see that we didn't see? Do you understand? That's what does my head. What? Please share. And if you're going about what Stephen's bad behavior is, that's a leap too far. Because if you try and associate his bad behavior with murdering Teresa Hobart, you have to prove it. When
Well-
you look at the forensic evidence, it doesn't gel. Something doesn't gel.
Well, I mean, the approach. Yeah, the approach that I think several have taken is that making a murderer so affected us that we went into it looking at law enforcement as bad actors. And I get that. I do. I understand it. For me, maybe I'm sure it's not this way for everyone, because I was so involved in the beginning.
Yes.
I'm not saying it didn't affect me, but clearly the 85 case had problems, real serious problems, definite malfeasance, in my opinion. So I did go into it with thinking, what the hell's going on with Network? What did they do? Or at least some of them. I'm certainly not saying all of them at all. I'm not saying
And
that.
then you add in Ricky Hochstetler and
That's right.
Other cases.
That's
that,
right.
Yeah. Point
Thank
to.
you.
Yeah. If I could just answer, sorry, Jack 61.
No, go ahead.
I was going to answer JJ Falk's question. Yes, the scent dog Loof tracked all the way down to Cuss Road.
Yes.
But Sheriff Pagel prevented Loof from crossing the line. And I had a very interesting discussion with someone on X or Twitter. And their argument was that it was just a false alarm and her scent went down there because of the wind. So it was, and then I said, wait a minute. So now you've got a false alarm by a scent dog that's scented with Teresa's live scent and Brutus, who detects the scent of death, human decomposition. Now both dogs are wrong.
Well, yeah,
Both
Brutus had already hit on that disturbed earth. It's in the unfiled warrant that Wiegert wrote. So,
correct.
Yeah, there's something going on here.
Ooh, I love
Correct.
this idea. Random Pieces says maybe you need a show to show the history of the county in the same way Cam showed Stephen Avery's history.
That would be interesting. God.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah,
Well,
just to finish my comment from earlier, and I promise I'll be brief. Talking about the blunt and bloody instrument again. Okay, I can tell you, I've got the emails. This is a truther. After as we found out about it last year, this truther wrote to Calumet County, the CASO, and the prosecutor, the current prosecutor, Nathan, I can't remember the last name, and the DOJ, wanting an explanation to what the fuck happened to that bloody instrument. And I can tell you there are hundreds of back and forth emails. Hundreds. Because they wouldn't give her a reply. She wanted all information about that blunt and bloody instrument, what testing was done, everything. I'm not going to name off everything, but anything to do with it and any conversations that anyone in CASO or the DOJ had about that blunt and the lab about it. Still no reply. Or no. So it's under investigation, I can tell you that. It's being looked at. So I turn around to myself and I'm thinking, is that why Sheriff Wiegert didn't run again? Why didn't he run again? He's not an old guy. He's like 54. Why didn't he run again? That's speculatory completely. Maybe he's just tired of it and wanted to hell out. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
But anyway, this is a really interesting segue about that blunt and bloody instrument. It's still ongoing.
Correct. And I'm also having this great argument that I don't believe A23, that Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey were excluded from A23. I'm thinking to myself, guys, I do this this was my living, this was my job, genetic analysis in families, and I understand how allelic exclusion works, right? And no, they don't want to admit it. They don't want to admit that Stephen Avery's DNA is not present in A23. So when and the other interesting thing is the fingerprints that were left where you put in the key, they're not Stephen's either. So you got
they didn't run them through, and they didn't run them through APHIS.
Nope. So you got fingerprints and blood that don't belong to Stephen. They're on the back door of the RAV4. Something happened, right? I don't know what it was. Teresa stopped her car somewhere, either on the property on her way out or just off the property. We have a broken blinker light. And this is important because Deidring in 2017 spoke to all her friends and asked them one question. Do you know anything about the broken blinker light? Nope. And guess who he also asked? He also asked Ryan Hilligas, and he goes, I can't remember. So he dissuaded himself, he distanced himself from the broken blinker light. He now no longer remembers that it was due to an insurance claim because I don't remember. So something happened to cause Teresa Hobart to stop, get out, go to the back of her RAV. She got attacked and got placed in the back of her own RAV4. And we know that because of the blood. So that doesn't fit the narrative of what Kratz said in court, that Stephen and Brendan picked her up and threw her in the back of the RAV, then took her back out of the RAV and decided, no, we're going to put her on the fire. But before they did that, they had to dismember her. So think about this. You've just shot Teresa 10 times, twice in the skull, blood everywhere, and you dismember her, and Brendan Dassey doesn't faint from the sight of blood. And what did Brendan say he did? Oh, we put her on the creeper, right, Susan? We put her on the creeper and rolled her to the burn pit. And I'm thinking to myself,
No, but the creeper has no blood on it
blood.
or evidence,
Nothing.
DNA, nothing.
Nothing. Right? How many times do you have to prove their story and narrative is completely false? Completely false.
And why the investigators didn't just say, "Look, mate, dude,
go home.
Just get out."
Just go home. right? So my final comment, sorry, Jack 61, my final comment is this. Explain the broken blinker light, explain the blood on the back door, explain the missing blunt and bloody object, explain A23, you've got your killer.
Well,
Done.
I mean, there's you know, if we just look at the RAV, I mean, we can ask a lot of questions, but you know,
Correct.
I've often thought about how much stuff was missing from the RAV. Number one was the registration; it wasn't in there, and I don't know how it's done in other parts of the world. But that's not the title; it's just the registration for your place to prove that that car is in your name. Number two, and you know, I don't know how much people really think about this, but they should. Tom Pierce had given Teresa an emergency roadside kit. Now, the only piece of that kit that was inside that RAV was that lug wrench. That was not the Toyota issued lug wrench. And as far as I know, they were looking for that lug wrench of Teresa's from her toolkit. They never found it.
Correct.
So where's the rest of that fucking toolkit, number one? Because I think she would have kept that in the back of her RAV. It's gone. There were a number of things in that RAV that were gone. And it's not really truly questioned, even though they may have questioned it themselves when they were talking privately. But there are other things, too. The broken blinker light, I think you pretty well nailed that. They didn't want to give that to KZ.
No. And sorry, Jack 61.
No, go ahead.
They Deidring spoke to an officer from Toyota, and he goes, you don't need much to cause that damage, because the airbags didn't, he said the airbags didn't go out.
Deploy, that's right.
So it didn't hit something extremely hard. Because
has to be 20 or 22 miles an hour, I think, is the impact.
It didn't have to be a high velocity impact.
No.
Because you can see the bumper bar, but he said one thing. He said the light would have still hung in there with the cord.
Yes, by the wire.
In order to get the blinker light out, you had to disconnect the electrical cable. Who disconnected the light and stuck it in the back?
Right. That's exactly right.
She could have hit a deer. That's possible.
Possibly.
Pulled over, pulled that light out, put it in the back.
But you know,
somebody
I'll let Kay
to help. You know.
Yes.
I have a comment, and I'll let Kay talk. She's got something to say. But
sorry, Kay.
why?
Sorry.
Why would they rely on Ron Hilligus to find out a damn thing about Teresa's car instead of going to her family themselves? I don't understand that. Is he an investigator or an extension of law enforcement? Right? Kay?
Oh, I was unmuted because I was just going to say in Oklahoma, it's only been a few years that they've required us to have our registration in the vehicle. Up until that time, we were never required to do that. So I don't know what the laws are like there in Wisconsin.
Oh, wow. Every state I've ever lived in, it's a requirement. You got to have your registration with you.
Yeah, me too. Huh.
Yeah, that just happened a few years ago.
Correct.
Anyway, that's all.
Correct. And to me, that was a disappointment that I had with Cam, that there was a great opportunity to say, okay, let's look at this from a forensic standpoint. What do we got? What narrative can we come up with? Can we bring in Stephen? Can we bring in Brendan? Where does it fit? Where doesn't it fit? Rather, they spent 40%, 50% of their budget vilifying Stephen, taking him to pieces, and they want you to draw the conclusion, yeah, he's a killer. Don't worry what the evidence shows. He's the killer, Katie.
The public really enjoy emotional things like that. And so, you know, you can see law enforcement does that when they're releasing something, when the DA's office releases something to their favorite reporter, just to sensationalize it, make it really emotional, because, you know, they know that there's a certain percent of the population who are profoundly affected by these topics because, you know, if you're hearing this as a sexual assault survivor or as a rape survivor, those are traumas that you can't get around to get back to being rational in a case like this. You would be excluded from a jury for that same reason. So I don't know where I was going with that, but
No, I agree. But this episode 3 is an emotional episode.
yeah,
It's designed to stir you up so much. And did you see the little clip that I put at the end? How boom, factoid.
Conclusionary.
It's got to be Stephen. Don't even ask. It's got to be Stephen. And tomorrow we continue. Tomorrow Susan's going to kill us. Susan's going to kill us. But we continue on how Cam was very innovative in the way they constructed their clips, right? Their information. So you draw a conclusion, go, had to be Stephen. Now, how many people watching Cam have spent 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years reading thousands of documents, including the entire trial testimony?
I can tell you there's actually quite a few out there that really don't know much about the case and they just believe what Cam put out. Believe it.
I've been here 7.5.
Yep, me about 5. I'm only young to the case.
I'm coming up on 8 years.
Amanda M in chat, she says that she lived in Wisconsin that year, and she says that you needed your license and your registration in the car, but not necessarily your insurance document. You had to have your insurance, but not necessarily the document. But you did have to have your license and your registration. And that's one of the things that bugged me as well. Where is their license and their registration? If they found the car before Stephen could do anything with it, you know what I mean? The Pepsi can was in it and everything like that. So where's their license and their registration? You know what I mean?
Right.
That's one of the things that bugged me. And yous are all old buggers compared to me, because I'm only 4 years on the case. Yous are all seniors.
I'm 4 years too.
Alani Perrin asked, did she have an insurance claim for the light or any other damage?
They checked it. And I checked it too. I think it was Henbury who did a Carfax analysis, right? And a Carfax analysis details all the claims.
Yeah.
The only claim was a broken blinker light.
Yeah.
No,
wiper arm.
Windshield wiper.
Windshield wiper. No blinker light. So he ran a Carfax that details all the damage reported on a vehicle. Wiper blade.
Yeah.
No blinker light.
If she's going to report a wiper blade, she would certainly report.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. As a photographer, yes.
Well, it tracks the history of the reported incidents of the car, but, you know, KZ ran a history too. She looked. Go ahead, Kay.
Didn't Heliga say that she made a claim on that?
Yes.
Am I misremembering that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And just kept the money.
Kept the money. Didn't repair it. I don't believe that at all.
Yeah, he said that on the stand in court. And then that's when people
I don't think
started.
he said that in court.
It's in
it was on the stand, was it not?
It's in a report. It's in a report. It's in a report written by No, it's in a report written by Fassbender. He reported it. Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't talk about it at trial.
No. Correct.
Oh, I thought I seen it in one of the episodes in Ma'am that he said on the stand that she done an insurance claim for the light.
I'll have to check it.
I'll have to check it. I don't think so.
I mean, I could be completely wrong. I honestly could be completely wrong, but that bit about the insurance and that for the light. I mean, maybe it's because we've read that many documents and done that many things. I mean, I could possibly be getting mixed up with
I
a
don't think it was
document
mentioned in court.
and
I don't
ma'am.
think I could check it quickly. I
I'm
don't
looking
think it
right
was
now.
mentioned in court.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
you're looking
looking.
at it?
Yeah.
Yep. It's definitely in the DCI report. Fassbender wrote
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
I mean,
then-
maybe that is where I've seen it, Doc. But
Yep.
in my head, I thought I seen him mentioning that in Ma'am in one of the episodes. Of
I
Ma'am.
think it was too.
What-
Alex, that it wasn't
that-
in MAM. Maybe not in the trial, but
But wasn't
Ma'am,
that
too.
queso 2.0 that they asked Ryan? That Ryan said that when they were asking everybody
Oh,
about.
in Queso 2.0, he denied it. He says, I don't remember. He actually says,
okay.
I don't remember. I checked it. Yep.
Well,
He goes,
wasn't
"I
it
don't
after
remember."
one of Casey's filings where she brought that up? Isn't
Yes,
that when
that's
they
why
went and asked?
Deedring did Queso too, because of Kathleen Zellner.
Yeah.
So I checked that. Deedring asked about 4 or 5 of her friends, and they said, do you know anything about the broken blinker light? No one recalls a broken blinker light. They asked Ryan. Deedring asked Ryan, he goes, I don't remember. So he now has no memory of him saying it was due to an insurance claim.
Yeah,
So
that might have been in MAM too. Yeah.
Ma'am too.
Yeah.
Too.
Sorry,
I'm going
Alice.
to have to go. I'm going to have to go and to try and fast forward through Ma'am to see Ryan Hilligan's bits now, just to see, because it's going to bug me whether it was a document or whether it was actually on Ma'am.
I'm looking
Friday
at
tomorrow-
I'm looking at his testimony, and I typed in blinker, I've typed in broken, and it's 0. There's no words found. Any other words you
I
guys
don't
want me to
think
look
it
at?
happened on the stand.
No.
Right. It must have been
Light.
in the document. In that,
I'll try.
then.
I'll try that. I'll try that as well.
Report.
Control F.
Yeah, I was going to say that'll be me. That'll be half my day tomorrow before the live. Is going through episodes of bloody Ma'am to see if it was in that or no. But yeah, I mean, I could, as I say, I could be completely wrong.
Yep. Well, look, guys, we've actually finished, believe it or not, which is awesome. We're nearly at 4 hours, which is fantastic. But I think, what do you reckon, guys? I reckon we've done enough for today, the episode.
But yeah, by the time we get around to everyone, and I have checked the word light in his testimony, both on direct and cross. The only thing that even comes up is the court. How did this come to light? It is not about the parking lot. I can't find anything.
No.
Right. It must have been the documents of that then. And I know we've talked about it plenty as well, so I could just be getting muddled up.
Right.
You could also look at his testimony, Alice.
I just did. I just did.
There's nothing on blinker
Oh,
light.
okay. Oh, that was
Yeah,
his
that's what
testimony.
that was his testimony, direct and cross.
Right. So I've obviously got it mixed up. I mean, we've bloody read that many things and documents and talked about things so much.
It's so
and-
easy. Yeah.
Oh, it's easy to do. Yeah,
exactly.
definitely.
It's just info, and it gets all muddled up. So yeah.
Well, you're like the rest of us. There's only so much RAM in your head, and when it gets full, you're just screwed.
Correct. Well, look, guys. Again, thank you so much. Today was a very, very hard episode to go through, but I think we gave it due diligence. Episode 3, which was entitled Avery's Niece. And again, in summary, none of us condone the activity of Stephen Avery. What he did should have been reported, and he should have been charged if both Jody, Marie, or Kayla brought charges against Stephen. It should have been acted upon because his behavior was despicable. It was very interesting the way convicting a murderer then tried to make that big leap of faith that Stephen Avery was targeting specifically Teresa Halbach and also buying the leg irons and handcuffs, which were novelty toys, and trying to link Stephen with the murder of Teresa Halbach. In episode 4 tomorrow, that theme will continue, and we've got quite a few clips tomorrow. All right. So look, guys, let's have some closing statements. How things are coming along. Jack 61. How about yourself?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks, Doc. And as always, been busy with one thing or 5 others. I did want to mention, and I'm going to link it in the live chat comments. Many of you know, or at least some of you know, that Allie Apperson has come back, and she wants to get back re-involved in the case. I know she's done. I think
she did a 16-hour live between last night and today.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah,
I think it was 16, something like that.
I'd actually had got in that. I'd fallen asleep last night, but I woke up and I saw that she had went live, so I jumped in there, and I was there for a while and chit-chatted. There was a lot of people that came and went, various conversations of a lot, about the case and so forth. I mean, she's been for 4 years, so there's a lot that she doesn't know. I'm trying to help her. I told her that anything that we could help her with, we're glad to do, with no expectation in return. It's just, trying to help her get caught up with the case. A lot she doesn't know. She didn't know about the disturbed earth warrant. I showed her that. She was blown away. This blunt and bloody instrument, absolutely. I think Jinx had told her about it. They'd been talking, and I think Jinx had told her about it. She said, but she wants to get back involved. Her life has changed from what it was in 2019. She openly admitted, I'm not talking secrets here. She had some issues that she had to get away from, and so she did. But now she's back and wants to get re-involved, reinvigorated. So she's in our Discord. So I'm happy to help her. I know other people here. I'm gonna actually copy and paste her channel. I know a lot of people are subscribed to her channel, but she said she thought she had lost some since.
In there.
I'm sorry.
Kat put a link in there.
Oh, thank you, Kat. Thank you for that. So go listen to Allie. She has a really unique way of talking. She wants to talk about everything, and she doesn't really mind too much as long as somebody's pretty decent. They don't, as long as they're civil. She's willing to talk to anyone. She doesn't care. But she wants to talk about and understand all these elements about the case. So I've been doing that. I've jumped into 2 or 3 of her lives, at least 2 of her lives. So anyway, that's what I've kind of been doing here the last several days. And other than that, just staying busy with. I will say we talked about this a little bit. I think it's fair to only talk about this openly. There have been things that we've been trying to get from Calumet County, Kayla, and we had to go about things in a little bit different way. And I have to give credit to Cherie. I'd ask her to request some things that I was denied. I think wrongly denied, and I questioned it and pushed it, but I didn't get anywhere with it. She has requested some things from Calumet County, and she got a response on Friday. Now, she should have been able to open the link that they send us digital folder, but she couldn't open it. It wouldn't work. So it's going to be Monday, I'm sure. Hopefully we're going to do audio this coming week for everyone to listen to. We'll see what we get. I don't want to announce anything we've been kind of promised things before and it turned out to be nothing. But we'll see.
Yes.
We'll see. Hopefully on Monday we can get this all sorted out, and we can, if it's something really interesting, we're going to share it. Just giving everybody a heads up. So
Fantastic.
That's pretty much it, Doc. Thank everybody in the live chat for coming. Please hit that like and subscribe and share button. Share the rebuttal, and keep looking for your truth. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much today, Jack 61. Katie, how about yourself? How are you coming along?
Oh, all right. All right, just been reading transcripts from Daniel Holtzclaw's trial over on Rhonda's channel, and fighting some, some people in the city council here in my hometown, and just, I don't know, keeping it exciting.
Somebody with a stick, maybe somewhere on their lunchbox or something like that.
Their swastika armband that they are comfortable wearing.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, staying busy doing stuff. It was a good show tonight, Doc.
Thank you. Yeah. Always learning new stuff. Thank you so much, Katie. And Susan, what about yourself?
Oh, I was just reading Ann's life. Don't forget Schimmel is running for Wisconsin Supreme Court. God help us. That's too bad. No, I'm doing fine. Keeping busy as always. It just seems like there's more and more going on. I'm getting really interested in Ashley Garth's case that Amy is presenting.
That's
She's
a
doing
crazy
a really
case.
good job.
Yeah, that's a crazy case.
It is crazy, and she's doing a really good job presenting it. And I encourage anybody to go check it out if you want to know more about that. The videos she's put out are very. She explains it really nicely to where you can understand, because it's complicated as well.
Yeah,
But,
it sounds complex.
Yeah, but yeah, it's very interesting, and looking to me, from what I know so far, that it is probably a wrongful conviction. So,
Oh God.
possibly another poor girl sitting there for not doing
Yeah,
anything.
we need more information, but yeah, I have to
Yeah.
agree with Susan.
What'd she get? 40 some years, Jack? Something like that.
I think so. 44. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. So anyway. Yep. But otherwise, I'm good. I should be here tomorrow. So.
You won't like us after tomorrow.
Uh-oh. Are we still on 3 tomorrow?
No. Three's done.
We're going to 4. Okay.
Episode 4, and I didn't mention it because I didn't want to get killed quite before I eat dinner, and Doc hasn't eaten breakfast yet. But we have 17 clips because Doc started on it. I started on it. 17 clips. Now, I will tell you, like I told you before we went live tonight, I don't know that we'll get through all of them, but we're going to get through enough. Even if I have to skip forward, we're going to get through enough. The problem for me was the RAV. There's so much surrounding the RAV, and I couldn't just make one clip. I just couldn't do it. So anyway, we'll see. But we'll do what we got to do to get through.
I want to clarify why you guys are always razzing me about that, because I've razzed them about doing 4-hour lives or longer. So
right.
Correct.
That's the reason.
But what we might have to do, Jack 61, is maybe play 2 or 3 clips together and then discuss them.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we can pause. Pause between. Well, I mean, pause some. I mean, we need to pause. Somewhat in between. But yeah, I don't disagree.
No, but the good thing is, though, we're not skipping. We're here, we're fronting up, we're talking about it.
That's right.
And that's the thing. Yep. And if people in the audience would like to hear it, we'll definitely do it. Thank you so much, Susan. Next we have I don't recall. How about yourself?
Star, the champion.
Thank you, champion. I learned it from you. I thank you for a very interesting presentation tonight again. And I wanted to add that, as Susan said, Amy is presenting Ashley Garth's case on her channel, Case by Case, and she will be having a show on Monday night. Monday nights is usually her night at 6 Central. And just Rhonda on Thursday at 5 Central with Daniel Holtzclaw's case. And so that's what I've been doing. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, I don't recall. Much appreciated for all the hard work that you do as well. And next we have Alice.
Hi, Doc. Thank you. Just been enjoying the grandbaby. Trying to spend all the time I can, when I can, with the grandbaby, my little Aussie. So that's been taking up part of my time just now. Scylla asked me a question earlier of who was in my profile picture. That is Luke Mitchell. It's a wrongful conviction here in the UK. He was 14 and he was accused of murdering his girlfriend, also 14, in 2003. There is no DNA evidence whatsoever at all to link Luke to the crime, and it was a very brutal, horrendous crime that happened to Jodie. So that's what I'm working on here in the UK. So that's who it is that's in my profile picture. So thank you very much for asking. If you'd like to find out more, just nip to my channel, and you can get an idea from there. And foul play, we also did some on foul play, and we actually had Dr. Sandra Lean on the case, and she came onto foul play and she did an interview with us. And she's been fighting for Luke for the past 20 years. So that's who it is that's in my profile picture. So thanks very much for asking, Scylla. And great podcast as always, Doc. Looking forward to what Rhonda's coming up on Thursday. And I'm not very much looking forward to what we're doing tomorrow, if I'm honest. So, but thanks, Doc. It's great. And how have you been?
Yeah, I've been very, very good, very busy, really putting in a lot of time doing a proper rebuttal with Cam, and spending a lot of time on X and Twitter, having really good, cordial conversations, and it's been really awesome. But before I go, I'm just going to read this out. This is from Case 02. This is Investigator Deidring talking to Ryan Hilligus, and I've got it. I'll just read out only 2 lines. I'll quote, "The purpose of my call to Ryan was to determine if he had any knowledge regarding Teresa Horbach losing the ignition key for her RAV4 or damage caused to the left front directional assembly of Teresa's RAV4. Ryan indicated he could not provide me with any details regarding either of these questions."
That's interesting.
Yep.
Pretty much an about face from what he reported to Fassbender.
180 degrees. Anyway, guys, we don't want to spend another hour talking about that one.
Yeah, we could.
We could easily. Again, guys, I want to thank all of our supporters, everyone in chat, and fantastic questions, a lot of passion. And I understand, because the subject matter that we talked about today is very, very confronting and is not easy to talk about. But again, thank you so much. We rolled up. We've taken your questions. And I think we've done incredible due diligence on episode 3. And hope to catch you all tomorrow as we continue with episode 4. Thank you very much, guys. Please like and subscribe and share. Thank you.
And with that, have a good evening, good morning, wonderful day, wonderful evening. This has been a Foul Play production.